All right, so we haven't done this in a while. So I just need to remember.
What do you need to remember?
Goody and Momo 7 at the movies? What is it?
You know it's Goody Johnny Mo.
Goody and Johnny Mo?
It's
You're
never-
Goody, right? I'm Johnny Mo. It's been a while.
It's been a while, but I don't think it's been that long.
I've probably had dementia set in since the last time we
I mean, it's been well over a year
Years.
since our last one.
Years.
You know, I know we got to get back into it at some point. Welcome back, everyone, to the Goody and Johnny Mo channel. This has been well over a year since we have done our last video, but yet only a week since we put out our last release up on YouTube, because it literally took me so long to get to it.
So this is really funny because when we taped our last video, which I watched recently, only because I was only able to watch it recently. When we taped our last video 14 months ago,
I think 15.
14 or 15 months ago, in that video, we said, oh my goodness, sorry guys, it's, this has been a while. This has been our, the last video, the last video was 10 months ago. We promise we're going to do better. We promise we're going to do better.
We promised.
And we taped the video, and it took 15 months to post it.
We did tape it like the week that we saw the movie.
Yeah, well, no, we taped that video. It just never got posted. That is by far. Usually they get posted within a week, and then that one it just never posted. And I told Chris, I said, you're gonna post it? He goes, I'm gonna get to it. And I told him, and I said, Chris, I just want you to know, I'm not doing another video until the one we have actually recorded has been posted, which is hard for me to do because you know what? At the end of the day, we could have been taping, and we might have had 6 in the
we
bank.
could have had a lot.
But at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? We need to get that one posted before we tape the next one. And it finally got posted, and the reason why it got posted, we'll get into.
Well, it's because of the movie that we saw. Because if we didn't, Johnny Mo told me, he basically lit the fire under me because he's like, if I didn't get this thing done, we were not doing another video.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, the Superman movie is finally coming out, and I'm like, there's no way Chris is going to see this movie and not want to do a video. And he knew that the only way it would get done is if we finally posted Civil War. Yeah. And I'm glad we posted Civil War because it
was a good review.
I really enjoyed that review. It was a nice, long review, over an hour, but under an hour and a half, I think, which is that's my sweet spot.
Barely.
An hour plus, but less than an hour and a half. And
we're already 5 minutes into this, and we haven't even done anything yet.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be another 5 minutes before we do anything.
So this is episode 66, and yes, that is a dog in the background. So since our last video, I do have a new member of the family.
Friends and family of Goody and Johnny Mo.
Friends and family.
Want to introduce
Jesse. We have a nice golden retriever. He is about 14, 15 months old at this point. I'm trying to get him to go to bed, but he is not cooperating right now.
And this to me is very funny because it reminds me of our first video, if not the first couple, where back then we did them in the middle of the afternoon when everybody was up and about and around, and there was tons of distractions.
Constant interruptions.
It's actually very funny. And now I expect that Jesse may be a consistent in the background barking from this point going forward, but I'm okay with that because this is the world we live in.
We're going to try to make this thing work.
What are we going to muzzle him? No. Like, you know what? Jesse wants to be in here with us. I told Chris earlier. I said, because he was up here before.
He
ran in, and he jumped on me. I was sitting right here. And I'm like, oh, is it going to be the Goody and Johnny Mo and Jesse at the movie show? I'm like, nope, you got to go in. You got to get put in the crate.
The thing is, if I let him in here, he'd probably just lay down. So this is episode 66, and for episode 66, like Johnny Mo said before, we are doing Superman, the brand new James Gunn film that just came out that is starting off the new DC universe. So before we get to our review,
we will do our drinks of the night.
Now, because, again, if you watched our last review, which I just posted, we literally did a shot. We don't always do two drinks to start us off, but because we hadn't done a review in so long, we did a shot. And because we hadn't done a review again in so long, we're starting to go for another shot.
Yeah.
So
I would expect that our next review will definitely not be a shot, because we are looking forward to seeing the Fantastic Four movie coming out, which is coming out
this
week. And I expect that we will be able to do a review shortly thereafter. So we'll be like, not necessarily shot worthy.
Right.
That being said, as much as Chris is looking forward to a Superman review, yep, I am very much looking forward to a Fantastic Four review. So I'm glad the timing is right.
No, it's nice. And it's a 2 week in between, which is great.
Yeah.
So looking forward to this.
Anticipated. So
with that,
for the shots,
what do we got?
Well, you know what? For the shots, what we have is Johnny Walker Blue Label, and it is actually the very bottom of the bottle. This is my annual birthday present to myself that I get every August.
Yep.
And I bought this bottle last August, and it lasted all the way to July. I'm going to get one next month, but the final 2 shots, which I'm happy that I'm glad. There was only whatever
enough
was left in there. That's all there was, and there is 2 good healthy shots left.
Yeah.
But this bottle will be retired. Well, this bottle will be thrown out. But I saved the case.
Then the only thing that
the next bottle I buy will go into this case. I keep the case.
Very good.
I won't get into the history of the case. I think I've
I think
three other videos.
I think we're good with that. And yes, normally you're not supposed to shoot Johnny Walker Blue. You're supposed to have that in a nice glass with some rocks.
No. I think it's up to the discretion of the drinker. And sure. I am a firm believer that all hard liquor should be shot and done. And you can thoroughly enjoy it. And I can tell you right now, I am thoroughly going to enjoy this.
Just don't choke on this one.
This shot.
All right. Cheers to all of our watchers and listeners. Thank you guys so much. Very smooth.
I love Johnny Walker Blue. I'm sorry. It's just so good.
So what's your beer?
Chaser. You know what? I need the Chaser first, and then we'll talk about it.
Yes, please.
So even though we haven't had a review in a year, at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm thinking about it. Like, what's the shot gonna be? What's the drink gonna be? And I'm like, you know what? The shot's gonna be really good. But I'm like, you know what? The beer doesn't necessarily have to be really good, but it's got to be something different. It's got to be something I've never done on Goody and Johnny Mo before.
It's been a while.
And what we have is a can of Conway's Irish Stout, which is a product of the USA. It comes from the Great Lakes Brewing Company, which I would assume is up by the Great Lakes region. And it says, Conway's Irish Stout. May the pint rise to meet you. Give a hearty cilantro with this rich and roasty dry Irish Stout, named for our founder's grandfather and steeped in tradition, 4.8%. And it's not the best Irish Stout I've ever had, but it's good. It's reasonable. It was worth a try. I may get it again somewhere years down the line, but it is in a Guinness glass, which is okay, because at the end of the day, right now, any stout can go into a Guinness glass, except Guinness.
Well, we're not getting into that.
Because Guinness is undrinkable. It doesn't deserve to be poured into any glass, let alone a Guinness glass. This Guinness glass was made when Guinness used to make a quality product. And now it's just, holding other stouts that are better or more worth drinking than Guinness.
I'm very simple. I literally just have a Sam Adams Porch Rocker. It's a fantastic summer seasonal beer.
It's one of Chris's favorite seasonals.
This is one of my favorite seasonals.
And what are the flavor notes of the Porch Rocker? Is it, I forget, because I don't drink that.
There's like a lemon, citrusy flavor to it, which I enjoy. Very light.
All right, good.
All right, so cheers to everyone. Thanks for watching. This is, again, for episode 66.
And what are you drinking out of?
Well, of course I have to be drinking out of a Superman glass.
Yeah, turn it all around, I guess.
Everyone has seen this quite before. This has been on many of my videos.
Has it? Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. I've used this glass on many videos before.
Is that the famous Neil Adams cover?
This is a Neil Adams cover from...
Superman 233?
233, correct.
That's great. You should have
Kryptonite Nevermore.
You should have gotten that signed by Neil Adams.
I think I did.
I would see the signature.
Oh, you mean talking about the glass?
I'm talking about the glass.
I thought you meant the book, 233.
No, Chris has
mean the glass.
Now, that being said, when I saw Chris pouring it into his Superman glass. I'm like, oh, shoot. I actually have a Superman glass at home. I wish I would have thought to bring it. But in my head, I knew I was having
That's
a stout.
okay.
I was going to have it.
So,
now, before we get into the movie,
yes, can you please explain why you're wearing this?
I want to talk about the shirt. So, in the past 15 months, me and Chris have seen a lot of movies.
Yes. None of which we reviewed.
And some of them were certainly review worthy. Mm-hmm. But I would say one of the movies that we saw, which was absolutely review worthy, was the last Jurassic Park movie.
Jurassic
World
Park Rebirth.
And at the end of the day, I am the proud owner of what I consider to be one of the best movie shirts of all time. This is an original Jurassic Park shirt from the original run, 1993, and I've had it ever since. And I only wear it these days when we go see a Jurassic Park movie. And had we done a Jurassic Park Rebirth review, I would have worn this shirt.
And I would not have had anything.
Yeah,
not to match it.
And I'm like, you know what? Have we done a Jurassic Park review? I think we may have.
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah, and I probably wore it then, but I'm like, you know what? I don't know when the next Jurassic Park movie was coming out, so I wanted to wear it. But underneath my Jurassic Park shirt movie is...
It's not as dramatic as the T-shirt.
Hold that.
Oh, God.
Hold that,
we're
because
we're assisting.
We don't want to see our belly.
This really should be the outtake.
There we go. Underneath my Jurassic Park shirt
is a traditional
Superman shirt.
I went out about 2 weeks before the movie came out, and I ended up ordering the new emblem. For most people that know the Superman lore, they know it's not a new emblem.
You need to stand up and show the emblem.
I'm not going to stand up.
Because this is the emblem used in the movie.
Correct.
And has it ever been used before in any Superman context?
That.
No, I don't.
You know it's been used in Kingdom Come. You introduced me to Kingdom Come.
Yeah, but I don't look at the Superman emblems and commit them to memory and catalog them and say, oh, this is how it's changed over the years. In your head, they're all cataloged. Because at the end of the day, if your life depended on you putting on pen and paper the different Superman emblems over the course of time from Action Comics #1, 1939 to today.
38.
1938 to today, you would be able to sit there and probably give a relatively good detailed account.
I could do probably pretty well with that.
I think you could.
But yes, no, in the 90s, Alex Ross and Mark Waid did a story called Kingdom Come, where they did an older Superman, and this was the emblem. However, the colors were different. They did red and black as the colors of the S.
Same shape.
Same shape. Yep, just different colors. So when
black instead of yellow?
Correct.
Really?
So when they introduced this as the logo for the film, it must have been, it was well over a year ago when they introduced this. I was actually pretty happy with that. I did really enjoy the Man of Steel, Henry Cavill's Superman logo. There was a little bit of a throwback to some of the older Superman emblems with that S. So I was actually, pretty happy with this. If they would have went with the traditional S, I would have been fine with that as well.
So when you say this is the traditional S, what does that mean?
That to me, that's the traditional Superman logo that's been around the longest.
For decades.
That's been portrayed as the Superman logo, the emblem, for the longest
time. Because
I
would imagine that there was a long stretch of time where the logo stayed the same. The logo stayed the same.
I mean, they still have been changing it with numerous storylines over the last even 15 years or so. But no, I was pretty happy with this.
And who tried to buy you your first copy of Kingdom Come?
I believe that was you. Yeah. You tried to force it into my hands.
And what happened to that copy? Where did it wind up?
Back on the shelf in the store when we were shopping.
Ye of little faith. Lo and behold, years went by.
No, not years. It was later that year.
Later that year. Months went. So lo and behold, months went by, and Chris wound up getting a copy of it, realized the error of his ways when he put it back on the shelf, and now it's one of his favorite books. And he probably owns a better copy than I do. You probably have a deluxe hardcover edition slipcase in there.
I do, signed by Alex Ross.
Yeah, signed by Alex Ross. I believe it. Whereas I probably just have I'm sure I just have a trade paperback. But it's funny how these things evolve. Yes. I literally remember putting it in Chris's hands, and Chris is going like, "Yeah, I don't know that I need this," and I'm like, "He does need it. He just doesn't know. I know that he needs it. He'll get there eventually. And he did. Short amount of time. It was great.
So
yeah, really love Kingdom Come. Really love Kingdom
great storyline.
I'm waiting for them to adapt that.
I might be waiting a long time for that, but we'll see. So with this film, listen, James Gunn.
Okay, so
yeah,
we got to talk about the previews before we get to the film.
Well, yeah, we could talk about that too.
Yeah, no.
You want to talk about the previews first?
Yeah, we got to do it in chronological for sure.
Oh boy, okay.
Because
the teaser trailer came out in what, December? The first teaser, I think, was December.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah,
and I'm sure there's been quite a few trailers. And later on, I'm going to talk about my problem with the trailers, because I didn't have a problem with the trailers until after I saw the movie. But prior to seeing the movie, there was a good amount of trailers, and I could tell you right now, I enjoyed the trailers. I really did. I really enjoyed the trailers. I was after watching the first trailer. Like after the first trailer, I was hooked, and then subsequent trailers, showed a little bit more here and there, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, I was really looking forward to this movie, just based on the trailers. And then, I'll be honest with you, I don't know when I knew that James Gunn was going to be in charge of. But it came out that James Gunn was going to be the director, but James Gunn is also the guy who is in charge of this new
universe.
What do you call it?
The DCU.
DCMU, DC movie universe,
DCU.
DC universe, and this is the first movie.
This is the first movie,
and that's at the end of the day, that's what you needed. You needed a guy like James Gunn, who did, I think, in my opinion, amazing work with Guardians of the Galaxy. Took chances. Chances paid off. Flying colors.
He did the Suicide Squad.
He did the Suicide Squad. Because in my opinion, the best trilogy in the MCU, by far,
is
Guardians.
Yeah.
I feel like that was just magic, and that's what you need. You need somebody who's going to sit there and say, you know what, I'm going to take the DC universe, I'm going to reboot it, I'm going to try and do it right, and what we're going to do is we're going to pull in the characters that are available, and we're going to take chances with stories. We're going to tell stories. It's not going to be, because at the end of the day, you could get 10 directors at the end of the day and say, make a Superman movie, and they're just going to do the color by numbers, what they think everybody expects, what it should be, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, I want to see a movie that I would be incapable of writing and making myself. I want to see something different.
Well, James Gunn had a really difficult job, because the last few years, the DC films that were coming out were not very good. Unfortunately,
some of them were good, but some of them weren't.
Yeah, some of them were just average. Listen, Black Adam was an okay movie. It was enjoyable to see. Is it something that was going to restart the DC universe of that time? No, it wasn't. Blue Beetle was an enjoyable film. It was a cute little film.
Oh yeah, I hated Blue Beetle.
Oh, you hate Blue Beetle?
I hated. I thought that movie was ridiculous.
I thought Blue Beetle was a cute little film, but again, it was not something that was going to restart the universe. Aquaman 2 was not done very well. Wonder Woman 84 was a disappointment.
It was horrible.
So
that being said,
even the Flash,
Wonder Woman 84 might have one of the best previews of all time.
But
I've seen the preview 500 times.
Oh, you've watched it.
I've seen the movie once. I've seen the preview 500 times. I can watch it over and over again.
The Flash film, again, was...
The Flash film wasn't bad.
Was okay. To me, it was okay.
But that was like the swan song. Wasn't that the death knell of the old DCU? It wasn't that the end? I think
Blue Beetle was the end. It was either Blue Beetle or Aquaman 2. Okay. It was one of those two was the end.
At the end of the day, the original DCU never could succeed.
No.
Because what they did not have was a singular vision that took no prisoners. They
made too many changes throughout the films.
Yeah.
If anything, if something happened that either the audience didn't like or the critics were very critical of, they tried to make course corrections.
They changed their direction,
and they didn't stick with their guns. If they had no pun intended, if they had a true vision of what they wanted to do and where they wanted to go with it, they never stuck with it. They always changed things.
Right.
Man of Steel started it off. I love that film. We've done a review on that. John knows how much I really enjoy that film. I thought that was a good movie to start it off.
I enjoyed that.
It was divisive amongst fans and even critics. It made decent money for the first film of the start of that franchise, but then it never really took off from there. The Batman vs Superman film, that movie should have made $1 billion. You have Batman and Superman in one movie, and it didn't do it.
And it was, in my opinion, it was a horrible movie. And the director's cut was better.
Yeah. I will never watch the theatrical version.
The director's cut was absolutely more watchable.
I saw the theatrical version in the theater, and that's it. I've only watched the ultimate cut.
Even Justice League. The released Justice League movie was
the theatrical film.
Watchable, but not that good. But then you go to the
Snyder cut.
Whoa! All of a sudden, wow, that was actually a pretty good movie. And it just comes down to is that DC didn't do what Marvel did. Marvel had a path and they stuck to it. And what Marvel did is what they considered the entire path for all the decisions. Whereas DC considered every single movie a decision point. Did this movie make money or not? And if it didn't, oh my God, what are we going to do? Whereas Marvel just said, look, our franchise, which is all the movies, is making money. It doesn't matter if one movie makes less money than the other. We are going in this direction. And they had
it was a 10-year plan.
The foresight and the belief in their path, that they stuck to it and just did what they did, knowing that there may be some bumps along the way. Maybe some movies didn't do as good as others, but they said, okay. And what DC did is that they did the complete opposite. They were short-sighted, and they made numerous course corrections and bad decisions all the way throughout. Because at the end of the day, people can say, I'm wrong or right. But I'm going to sit there and say, you know what? You know how I know I'm right?
Here we are.
Because they never got to Darkseid.
Yeah.
We got to Thanos. We got to Endgame, Infinity War. We got to the end of the story arc. And the DCU never got to Darkseid.
They never got there. And unfortunately, we got teased in Black Adam with the return of Henry Cavill. But unfortunately, it was too late at that point. By the time that they had put Cavill in that film, it was later in the process in the filming, or even like post-production, I think. And literally the day that DC announced Henry Cavill was coming back as Superman, James Gunn was being hired, or was already hired at that point, and was being announced as starting this whole new DC universe.
Yeah.
And so essentially, he was writing Superman at the time. He had already been writing that film, and basically had to go to the brass and was like, what are you doing? Like, I'm doing a whole new thing. Why are we bringing someone back? Yeah. And I'm sure that was like really difficult and a hard conversation to have with Henry, and telling him that, I'm sorry, we're going in a different direction.
So two things with that is, one, I remember watching a video where James Gunn was the narrator, and he was talking about his vision for the direction.
This is when he came out with his announcement of what he was doing.
Yeah. And it was like, it's going to be movies and animated shows.
Yep.
And I guess TV shows, probably not on network TV, but on whatever streaming services.
HBO, yeah.
Whatever. And they're all going to be connected. They're all part of the same whatever. Mm-hmm. And maybe or maybe not they're completely, intertwined, but they exist in the same reality.
Yes.
And watching what was coming out, I'm like, you sit there and say, wow, okay. Like, they're going to start finally pulling characters out of their library of characters that are available, right. Which is what Marvel did all the time. Marvel just constantly pulled characters out. And just, we're just throwing this guy in this movie, because they had so many to choose from. And it was like, for many years, DC was always in that mentality of like, all we really have is Batman and Robin and Superman and Wonder Woman. And it's like, no. You don't just have Batman and Robin and Superman and Wonder Woman. Oh, okay, we have Flash and Green Lantern too. No, you don't just have Flash and Green Lantern too. You have, and not just Aquaman. You don't just have the frickin' Super Friends. You have
there's a whole array of characters.
Many more characters. Even like, almost first tier characters, but second tier, third tier. You have.
But look and listen.
DC has been pulling characters in their universe since 1938. You have coming on 90 years of characters to pull from. It's like, you know what? You need. You might have more characters to pull from than Marvel does.
Listen. Well, the first thing that they ended up doing that James Gunn put out there was the Creature Commandos.
Okay. Yeah, Creature Commandos. I never even heard of Creature Commandos.
So Creature Commandos, that went on HBO last year. That was the first thing that came out, and it came out to positive reviews from what I hear. I've only seen the first 2 episodes. I didn't get to finish the series. I got to go back and finish it.
Now you got to tell me. I just started watching the 2nd season of Sandman. Sandman is a DC property.
Yeah.
First season of Sandman was, I don't know, a year or 2 ago. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Does Sandman fall into
the James Gunn thing? I don't know. It's Netflix. I think it's separate. It's almost like an Elseworlds. Like
it could be its own thing because it's so wonky, wacky.
I think it's its own thing. I don't think that's going to be connected. But I mean, they already have so many. They have movies and properties planned going forward.
But that being said, if you have not watched Sandman, watch Sandman. Season 2 just came out on Netflix. I thoroughly enjoyed season 1. I watched the first episode of season 2. It's a direct continuation.
I mean, James Gunn has a tough road ahead of him. And
sure.
To me, the biggest question mark was going to be, how is Superman going to do? Because if Superman didn't get off the ground as the first film in this new franchise,
they would have changed direction.
I think it would have taken another 8 years for them to do something, because I don't know where they go from there if this wasn't a success.
Yeah. Basically, James Gunn had one, he's got to assume that Superman does good. Once Superman does good, every single person that comes into James Gunn's office and says, but he needs to say, shut the fuck up and get out. I know what I'm doing, leave me alone.
We're dropping F-bombs now.
Oh, we're dropping F-bombs.
You just did.
Here's to the F-bomb. Don't edit out the F-bomb. But that's what he needs to do. He needs to go, like, you know what? All the people that are coming into my office, they're the people that screwed up round 1, maybe even round 2.
Well, you have 2 people that are in charge of the...
Shut up.
You have the 2 people in charge of the DC universe. You have Peter Safran and you've got James Gunn. Okay? So both of them are very well experienced in their areas. And David Zaslav, who is the head and CEO of Warner Brothers at this point in time, apparently has basically given them...
Free reign.
And said everything is going through them. Now...
Good.
We'll see if that stays true in the next couple of years. So Superman, to this point in time, we are 1 week in, or we are now a week. Yeah, we're a week and like a couple days into the release. It's made over 400 million worldwide at this point in time. It came out to it's come out to very good audience reviews solid critic reviews.
Second week.
This is the second week. Yeah. It held the weekend again, so. It did very well with critics and with audiences. And I think that's what, I mean, James Gunn needed to bring the audience back to these films, because people were not going to see the rest of the DCEU at the end. Superman has already made more money in its first week than the previous few films' entire run.
Put together.
Not put together, but like more than their entire run.
Oh, okay. So whatever the last movie was, it's already beaten that. The movie before that, it beaten that.
3 or 4 films for the DCEU.
Yeah, and not for nothing, this is the right time for DC to make a move, because in my opinion, Marvel has faltered in the past.
I think this is where you're going to see DC shine a little bit.
Yeah, they have an opportunity to shine.
They really do. And
because people have been disenfranchised with Marvel, which I kind of hope that the Fantastic Four movie...
Well, for them, it's kind of like their reboot.
Turns around.
Yeah.
I hope the Fantastic Four movie... But you know what, though? We saw Captain America...
Brave New World.
Captain America... I enjoyed that. I enjoyed Captain America.
Yes,
It's the first Marvel movie I've enjoyed in since I would say Spider-Man Far From Home.
No Way Home.
No Way Home.
And I'm sorry, I enjoyed Thunderbolts too.
Yeah, you know what?
like
I forgot about Thunderbolts.
I thought
Which
Thunderbolts
came out
was
first?
decent. Captain America.
Thunderbolts wasn't bad.
Thunderbolts wasn't bad,
I think Brave New World was better.
but that's a separate
Right,
review and
right.
conversation.
No, but like I said, I'm looking forward to Fantastic Four because at the end of the day, there's enough room for Marvel and DC to make good movies. There's enough audience and room to do that.
It's not, there's this whole thing about comic book fatigue and everything else. What is the solution for comic book fatigue? It's not
What the
comic
hell
book.
is comic book fatigue? I never heard that.
So you know how like westerns basically like died because like they were doing so many westerns that people got tired of doing them, or people got tired of watching them.
Okay. I'm not going to get into that, but okay.
Okay. Well, that was a very simplistic version of what I just said. Mm-hmm. But as far as like comic books go, because so many came out and so many were produced in a short period of time, and it was being thrown in everyone's face from two different companies, it basically like oversaturated the market. And the thought was maybe people were tired of going to the movies to see superhero films.
Interesting.
Now, I don't believe that.
I never heard that. I believe that once Marvel changed their gears and started making nonsense movies, that people got annoyed.
I think it's basically because the movies were not well written.
Well,
basically they weren't.
DC was always hit or miss, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean the DC films were, and then the last phase or two from Marvel were not really well done either. But I mean, regardless, it's not so much superhero fatigue. It's just movies were not being well written. Yeah. The characters were not being addressed well, and so James Gunn here has an opportunity to do something new and to do something special.
Yeah.
And he needed, not that he needed a home run, but this guy needed to get on base and to have a solid hit. And I think he does. And
he needed some validation.
He needed to get the trust back from the audience.
Yeah.
Okay. And not just comic book fans. Comic book fans, yes, but even just general audiences of coming to a film like this. This film was geared more towards the family.
Yes.
And not so much the adults that enjoy comic books.
And at the end of the day, in my opinion, the only character DC has that has the best opportunity to do that is Superman. That's your go-to guy. At the end of the day, you need to start off your plan with Superman. Because love Batman, love Wonder Woman, but Batman is a little darker. Mm-hmm. Wonder Woman, appeals more towards women. Superman appeals to everybody, families, this and that. It's like, because, what's that old thing? There's a song, it says, don't tug on Superman's cape.
Don't tug on Superman's cape, yeah.
And, the answer to that is just like, why? Why not? What is he going to do? He's going to say, hey, now, that's rude. You shouldn't be tugging on people's cape.
I wish they would have done that in the film, actually.
Yeah. And then the follow-up to that is, the person said that he goes, now, you don't tug on Batman's cape because you're going to walk away with a broken jaw. But Superman's cape, tug away. What do you?
One of the decisions that James Gunn makes that I absolutely loved, and I wasn't sure how no one knew anything really until the first teaser trailer, and that was the theme and what they were going to do, and they ended up using John Williams' Superman theme
in the teaser trailer,
and they used it in a new way.
In the trailer.
In the original, yep. In the first trailer,
okay.
You hear it, and it's with an electric guitar, and it's slightly modernized and different.
Yeah.
And I thought it was excellent. It was to me, this solidifies that going forward, you don't do a Superman movie without the John Williams theme.
Somewhere.
Now, to me, listen, certain characters, certain themes should stay together always when they're that iconic. Like, if they ever make another Jaws film, you're not going to go with another theme. You're going with the John Williams theme.
Or at least subtle hints of it somewhere.
The main Star Wars theme, okay, that's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, the Imperial March, those things are iconic. They stay with those characters. James Bond, no matter who plays James Bond, no matter what iteration it is, he has an iconic theme.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible, no matter who ends up playing Ethan Hunt in the future, if they ever end up rebooting that franchise, it's probably going to be the Mission Impossible theme that they have. Certain themes stay with characters, and at the end of the day, the John Williams Superman theme is iconic. Now, don't get me wrong. I really liked the Hans Zimmer score for Man of Steel. I still listen to it to this day because there are some the main theme of that was really, really good. And honestly, how do you follow up a John Williams theme that is so iconic? And I thought Hans Zimmer did a really good job. And now you have two guys. You've got John Murphy and David Fleming that are coming in, and they're coming after John Williams and Hans Zimmer. And how do you create a new theme for Superman? And what do? They go back to John Williams, and they take his theme, and I believe they got his blessing for this.
I would like to think
I believe they actually spoke with him and got his blessing to use this theme, and they modernized it. I thought that, to me, brings back a familiar tone and sound to Superman that a lot of people may have been missing in some of these more recent prior films. That it gives you a certain feeling. Those notes gives you a feeling inside when you hear it. It's unmistakable.
It's a proper respect of the past. It gives enough
because it's not
homage to the past.
It's not note for note.
Yeah, right.
It's not note for note. Like they don't replay the entire Superman march, but they play segments of it and they interweave it into the new music that they have created throughout the film.
And that's what it does. It plucks very slightly on the strings within you.
Yes.
Where you sit back and you remember, because I'm sorry, still to this day, as far as I'm concerned, the single best comic book / superhero movie of all time, still to this day, is the original Superman the movie. I mean, I'll be honest with you, nothing even comes close. The only thing that remotely comes a little close is The Dark Knight with
Heath Ledger and Christian Bale.
And that's because of Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
His iconic
role of the Joker, not because of Christian Bale's Batman, it's because of Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
And that to me is, like, in my opinion, the second best comic book movie ever made.
But I just think that was such a great decision that they made to bring that in.
Oh, I spilled.
That's okay. We're not using this tomorrow.
It's funny what you brought up just a little while ago. You were talking about, like, the themes to these different franchises, and this is funny because this is an interesting conversation me and Chris had a few weeks back where we talked about, like, there's just certain franchises which are never ever going to go away. Certainly not in our lifetime, and I would say even within 100 years. They're just gonna always make DC movies, Marvel movies, Star Wars movies, Star Trek movies, Alien movies, Predator movies, Transformers movies,
Jurassic
Park movies, because for the most part, for most of those franchises,
they could keep
the
going.
main character of the movie is transferable. You can always make aliens movies because it doesn't matter who's in the movie. It's about the aliens, and you can always put aliens in there.
Right.
So whether it's aliens or dinosaurs or Transformers, Marvel and DCU is a little different. But the reason why those
different
never
actors
die
might
is because
casted.
You have so many characters that you and then
that can carry on the franchise.
Right. And at the end of the day, at some point, 50 years from now, Marvel is just going to end their MCU and start over.
Yeah.
With a brand, that has a brand new Avengers movie that has nothing to do with, like it says,
and it was done prior.
And at the end of the day, that's what the comic book industry has done as well. The the Marvel universe being portrayed in comic books right now is not the Marvel universe that I grew up with. That universe is dead, and the number of Marvel universes between the universe that I read in the 70s and today is not, well, this one ended and now no, there's probably been 3 or 4 in between.
Yeah.
But
listen, DC's done the same thing.
And DC's done the same thing.
DC's done the same.
Because at the end of the day, Superman, you can always make a Superman movie. The first one was, the first one was not in 78.
Kirk Allen.
You're talking about
all the way back.
Superman has been, whether it's been in serials, or in
Television.
There's always these, Superman will never go away. 50 years from now, there's going to be another Superman movie.
And when they do, the John Williams theme will be a part of it. In my opinion.
I think so.
I think them going back and using this, I think solidified that this will be the Superman theme.
So my favorite part of the trailers was seeing how many characters were being pulled into this movie.
Yeah. And not your traditional characters.
Because I'm sitting there going of course you have, the Daily Planet.
You got Superman,
Lois. You got Superman, Lois Lane, Jimmy
Lex.
Olsen, Perry White, and you got, your villain Lex Luthor.
Yep.
So that to me is like, there's nothing
new.
There's nothing amazing about those choices.
Right. You almost expect them to be in the film to some degree.
Right. It's going to be a matter of who's your villain. Well, your villain is Lex Luthor. Okay, that's a no-brainer. Maybe it is not. Maybe it's not a no-brainer. They went with Lex Luthor. It's like, okay, great. And then it's like, okay.
But then they showed other characters.
Oh my God! All of a sudden, you're seeing Crypto, and in my opinion, right off the bat, genius. Because I can tell you right now, James Gunn probably said, "Let's pull in Crypto." And everybody in the room said, "What?" And James Gunn said, "Shut up."
Well, I don't think
it's a great idea.
I don't think he originally was pulling him in. He started to pull him in because he adopted a dog. I think his dog's name was Ozu. And the dog gave him inspiration to write Crypto and put Crypto in the film.
But at the end of the day, he decided to do it. And I guarantee you, if he wasn't in charge, everybody would be like, we're not putting Crypto in a Superman movie. Because, it would have never happened.
Is it a silly character?
What a silly thing to do.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I saw that and I said, good for you.
But for the guy who put in Rocket Raccoon and Groot in the 3 films.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And wrote them so well, how do you not trust him to put a digital dog into the film?
And he doesn't even look digital to me. He looks real.
Oh, he looks very good.
But but then you watch more of the trailers and you're like, we got Hawkgirl.
Yep.
We got Guy Gardner.
And Mr. Terrific.
And I said to Chris, who the hell is Mr. Terrific? We got him, but who the hell is he? He's like, oh no, he's in the comics, blah blah blah. I'm like, okay,
he's a genius.
Whatever. I'm ecstatic that they're pulling in a character that I don't know.
Yeah,
that exists.
They pull in the engineer.
They pull in the engineer.
The Authority, I think.
They pull in Ultraman. Because they didn't make it clear that it was Ultraman.
No.
But Chris is like,
eventually they did.
Chris is like, if you look at this preview and you freeze frame it here, that guy has got a U on his costume, and that probably means it's Ultraman. And he was right. And then it's like,
and you had Metamorpho.
You got freaking Metamorpho.
Yeah.
James Gunn sat there and said, we're going to have Metamorpho in this movie. And everybody at the table said, who the hell is Metamorpho?
I don't think you're wrong.
Who the hell is Metamorpho? And he's going to say, well, you're going to find out. Well, I don't know if we should. No, James Gunn said, shut the hell up. I'm just letting you know that we're putting in Metamorpho. Let me do what I do. Exactly. No, it
was really surprising with and listen, the question,
if he can turn Rocket Raccoon into a star.
Yeah.
And
then they think so. There were points after the multiple trailers that came out where people were concerned that there were so many characters that it was about like, how are you writing and containing this story so that it's about Superman? And Gunn kept saying, he's like, it's fine. He's like, most of these other characters don't have that large of a role. They don't have too much screen time. He's like, it's not like the story's about them. The story's about Superman.
And that actually makes it, the fact that you have this many supporting characters, which at the end of the day, most of them are heroes.
Yes.
Oh, and forget about, Supergirl. There's a Supergirl cameo at the end.
Oh, by the way, spoilers if you haven't seen it yet. Sorry.
So we get, we even get a Supergirl cameo. So that's another on the positive side. But it's like, you know what? Like,
no, I thought he did a great job pulling everything in. And then after seeing the film, like it didn't overwhelm you with the amount of characters that they had. I think they were used just enough
because in the
that
past,
you're getting a taste of what's been established. And one of the smartest things that Gunn did is at the start of the film, he actually does a crawl. He does a version, a DC Universe version of a Star Wars crawl.
Yes.
And gives you information so that you understand what this universe is. How long superheroes or metahumans have been around, how long Superman's been around. He goes through this entire timeline over the course of 30 seconds that basically sets up the universe, and then you're in the film.
Yeah. There is one part, because it's everything's in threes. This is what happened 3 centuries ago, 3 decades ago, 3 years ago,
3 minutes ago,
3 months ago, 3 minutes ago, 3 seconds ago. But I'm like, I didn't understand the whole metahumans first arrived or appeared on Earth 3 centuries ago. I'm like, 300 years ago? Because, I don't know, wasn't the whole rationale for like Wonder Woman and all that like 3,000 years ago? Not 300 years ago.
Like the Amazonians?
Yeah, like the Amazonians.
I mean, it's possible. Is she going to be considered a metahuman?
I don't know.
And that's the whole thing.
Sure.
So like,
it's all curious.
I think they might
like
that might be perspective.
Like I wanted to know who were the metahumans 300 years ago.
And you know what?
What was that?
I bet you we'll end up finding out.
I hope so, because in my head I'm going like all right, we're talking like just pre United pre-civil pre-revolutionary war.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, okay, what was who was running around 300 years ago?
Yeah.
That I want to find out.
No, and I think we'll end up finding that out. But what I thought absolutely was genius, and this was in the trailer to start us off. One of the biggest complaints that people have about Superman, I think it's wrong, but it's a big complaint, is that they feel he's too powerful.
He's indestructible.
That he's indestructible. He's not relatable. And I'm sorry, but that's just completely wrong. People that say that, they have no idea who the character is. They've never really understood who the character is. James Gunn, I feel, got it right. The first thing he starts off with is Superman not only getting beat, but he's bloodied. He's got broken bones. He's been physically beat.
Yeah.
And not for nothing, if he's fighting a villain like Ultraman, who is physically at his level, he's going to have blood. He's going to have bruises. He's going to break bones. If I had a complaint about Zack Snyder's universe with Superman, and again, I love Man of Steel. I love Henry Cavill. But he never bleeds. The only time he ever bleeds is basically when he fought Darkseid. I'm sorry, not Darkseid. Doomsday. Excuse me.
I was going to say Doomsday. Like Doomsday was a tough fight.
Doomsday was
a tough fight.
But that was the only time he ever bled, and it was when he got stabbed with his bone spear that he had.
Spur.
The bone spur that he had.
Yeah.
But like other than that, like he didn't bleed in Man of Steel, and he's fighting Zod. He's fighting someone who's toe to toe his equal in strength and power.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, at how hard these guys went, there should have been blood. There should have been bruises, something. Even though he heals from the sun with your typical fight or injury, these weren't typical injuries. These would have been actually hurt. This is if you and I went at it, we're going to show that we were in a fight because we're on the same level.
Yeah, because I think what a lot of people don't realize is, and this is, to me, and me and Chris have had this discussion before, it's one of the things that I don't quite understand about Superman, is at the end of the day, Superman is a Kryptonian.
Correct.
He's not stronger than any other Kryptonian. He is a Kryptonian, just like any other Kryptonian.
Yes and no.
So if you put all the Kryptonians on Earth,
No more humans.
they're all Superman.
They are, depending on how long they've been exposed to the sun.
Okay, because what you have is you have Superman, who is like considered to be like the most powerful being on Earth.
And
but
I
at
like
the end,
how they describe that in the crawl.
but it's weird though, because it's like Superman is not a meta Kryptonian. You put any Kryptonian on Earth, and now you have Superman, who can beat anybody
Yes,
in the universe.
Physically.
Not talking about anybody on Earth. You get, alien invaders, super beings from other dimensions. Like, Superman can kick ass.
For the most part.
But, is he that strong on Krypton?
No, because Krypton's a red sun. He's like us right now.
That's the part that I find weird. Like, Superman is not a special Kryptonian.
No.
He's just a Kryptonian on Earth, and if you put any other Kryptonian on Earth, you have multiple Supermen. Multiple, the most powerful beings in the universe.
To a degree, yes.
Okay. And that's something that I just found
Part
odd.
of that is how long I think they've been exposed to the yellow sun.
Okay.
That they don't just come on Earth and then all of a sudden are that powerful. Do they start having abilities? Yes.
Yeah.
But he's also been on Earth for 30 years and has been exposed to the yellow sun for that long.
But when in Man of Steel, when the other Kryptonians show up,
Yep.
They
start right away.
They're kicking butt.
Yep.
I mean, they are super tough.
But they are also military trained. So there is like a difference there where
Gotcha.
They do have, I would think, better fighting abilities than someone who really hasn't been in a fight.
Right. So if you had like a bunch of Kryptonian nerds, like the military guys would be able to just, whip the towel at them in the butt, and they'd be like, okay. So just like any other social scenario.
But honestly, the one of the biggest weaknesses of Superman is his heart and his humanity, and we'll get into that, I guess, from towards the end of the film. But that's how you beat him. It's not always about going physically toe to toe with him.
Right.
It's going after obviously the people that he cares about, but just people in general, just that interfering with his mission to save people, that hurts him. So
now we get through the previews.
Yeah. You're still at the preview? I'm
we're done.
I'm going into the movie.
Yeah. So now it's a matter of the movie's opening. What happened is that me and Chris were supposed to do our standard Thursday night,
preview
run. Movies opening Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but you get that late night Thursday night. And for whatever reason, I forget. I couldn't go. Well, I'm sure I didn't forget, but I don't want to say why. I couldn't go, and Chris was like, "Well, I'm going."
Sorry.
Sorry.
I love John.
And I know that.
But I'm going.
Chris is going. So Chris saw it the Thursday night. I think you brought your son.
Yeah, I brought one of my sons, yeah.
So then we had tickets for the whole family to see it Saturday morning. And we got there, and
almost halfway through.
Almost halfway through. Probably a little less than halfway through. My wife wasn't feeling well. So I said, all right, I'll take you home. So we left.
Yep.
So Chris got to see it a second time, and I only saw the first half of the movie. And then we were like, we were probably planning on doing the review that Sunday.
Possibly. And then I was planning to see it a third time anyway, because the first two films were on a general screen, and I really wanted to go see it on IMAX.
Chris wanted to see it on IMAX, so we planned Thursday night.
Yeah.
We planned the following Thursday night to go see it on the IMAX screen in Deer Park, and I got the okay to go, and we went to see that, and I finally saw the whole movie, and Chris. So I saw it 1.5 times. Chris saw it 3 times this past Thursday night, and I tell you, I enjoyed it on the big IMAX screen. We had.
I'll tell you, I did. I liked it the first time I saw it. I liked it more the second time I saw it, because the second time I could really just kind of sit back and enjoy the film. and then seeing it on IMAX, the third showing, to me, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
That really was the most fun I had watching a film in a while, and it's just how big everything is, but the film is just fun. It's a fun film.
It's a fun movie.
They balance everything well out. Like, listen, Gunn has been known in the past to like really push some of like his one-liners and comedy, and you have that in this film. But I think a lot of people worried that Gunn was going to overdo it, especially as like a complete 180 from what Zack Snyder had did with Man of Steel, where it was more of a serious tone.
Well, looking at like James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy, there's a lot of humor in the Guardians of the Galaxy
and
movie.
the Suicide Squad that he did, and
I,
Peacemaker.
I feel that this movie did not have as much.
No,
but it had the right amount.
I agree with you. I think it was just the right amount. I think it was a good tone that was set for this film.
Yeah,
for the character, and Gunn has gone on record saying that each film, depending on the character, is going to have a different tone. They're not going to be all the same thing. They're not going to be cookie cutter films. They're not going to follow a specific formula. And I am happy to hear that, because DC does need to stand out and do something different than what Marvel's doing, but at the same time, you can still build the universe one character at a time. You don't have to jump in on the second and third film with 3 or 4 main characters, and then they each get their own individual film afterwards. Like, slowly build everything up, and I'm completely fine with that. Take your time. You don't need to rush it to win the box office battle.
Yeah,
because you're going to end up losing. Like, just one movie, one character at a time. Just build it up nice, and they did a really good job with Superman. The beginning was, like I said, I really enjoyed seeing how physically he gets beat, and right away it just shows that Superman has people out there that can take him on head to head, and physically beat him. And I think that's a good thing, because if Superman just went out and beat everybody and it was just god level the entire time, all the time, there'd be no conflict, there'd be no challenges. You have to create challenges for him. You have to put him on an even level playing field with some of these villains. And and they do that in here, which is great. I love. I mean, there are so many great, even homages to like the original film that they're bringing back. Again, it's something about like the feel of it, bringing back the a crystal Fortress of Solitude, and a very Silver Age door opening. We don't get the big giant gold key that weighs like a million tons,
right?
But the fact that like that there's a door opening with the House of L symbol on it that opens based on your Kryptonian DNA.
I find that interesting that you talked about like it's like a very Silver Age type.
Yes,
because that's kind of, I was trying to figure out like the tone, the setting of the film, like what does it harken to? And in my opinion, it is very reminiscent of Silver Age mentality, storytelling, and also very reminiscent of 1970s Super Friends cartoons.
There's a little bit to that, I think.
In terms of like how because 70s comics and 70s Super Friends cartoons are not completely different.
Two different things.
Two completely different things. I got like a Super Friends type cartoon vibe and a 60s comic book vibe.
Some of the comics that were an inspiration for this film, not direct adaptations, but Superman, All-Star Superman, that was done by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely. That was an inspiration for this.
You've probably read these, and I probably haven't. But I've
read them, and I've
them.
watched the animated movies, and they were, you could definitely see some of that. And then also Superman for All Seasons, which is definitely more like grounded storyline. Those two I know were specifically mentioned by Gunn as being inspirations for this movie. But the Silver Age is mentioned multiple times, that like he's taking from that, and it makes sense because that's what he grew up with, I think.
Yeah.
So to me, like that would make sense.
You know what? And that, like, filming the movie in that sort of reality is very different from the real world or a modern world, like what you see with like a lot of the Batman movies.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I don't feel the reality that they lived in was representative of the real world. It seemed simplified. It seemed more comic booky, And
Well, look at the people when they're fighting, whether he's fighting Ultraman or at some point when they end up fighting the kaiju. Look at the people of Metropolis.
Oh, the kaiju.
They're not running. They're not running for cover. They're actually almost like watching the fight.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's like
a spectacle.
It's a spectacle because they've seen this before. Mm-hmm. Superheroes have been around. Yeah. Superman's been in Metropolis for 3 years doing battles. So it's kind of like they're just watching. One of the perfect examples, the guy in the TV store is eating his food and he's just sitting out there looking as he's watching the whole thing unfold.
Because no one's going to get hurt, no one's going to die.
It's like Superman's he's going to stop.
In a movie that is more in tune with what really would happen, people would be frickin' running like they're running from Godzilla.
Yeah.
And the kaiju would be falling into buildings and knocking things down, and there would be massive destruction, and people would be dying.
Yeah.
And what you have this enormous frickin' kaiju that got into a giant central area, never busted anything on the way to that central area.
That we know about.
Well, we didn't see anything.
No, that we know, right.
And Superman shows up, and everybody's hanging out watching. And at the end of the battle, not one building was knocked down. Like, I think one pane of glass got a crack. That was the sum total of damage. And nobody died, and nobody's scared, and nobody's running away. And, Superman's worried about, I actually thought this was kind of funny. This actually comes, there's an animal-friendly aspect to this film, which I've never seen in any other movie, because even in the kaiju scene, Superman makes sure that the dog that's underneath him when he's holding up the kaiju's foot gets out of the way. There's one point in that kaiju scene where he saves a squirrel. There's a scene later on where somebody's making sure that their tortoise is in a thing, saving that. Yeah. It's very it's not about just saving the people. It's the animals too.
That's right.
That's right. And I thought that it's very wholesome. It's a wholesome way to look at it.
Yeah.
But like the scene with the kaiju where Superman saves the little girl.
Yeah, she's just playing on the side of the street.
She's
in the thick of it.
She is literally has her back to the kaiju.
Yes.
And I don't know if she's either walking away, but she's
kicking rocks.
She has no idea what's going on.
No.
And Superman's like, oh, she's in trouble. I better save her. And you're sitting there I'm like, because you see that in the preview, but you see the full scene in the movie.
How it plays out.
And you sit there and you're like, what is this girl doing? Does she not know that there's a giant monster here? Like, why is she playing hopscotch or whatever the hell she's doing? And it's funny, and you get the same sort of feeling, but you don't see everything. Is when when Superman and Lois Lane are hanging out in their apartment, and there's a giant interdimensional imp floating around Metropolis, and the Justice Gang is out there fighting.
That was fantastic.
And it's like they're just like, they're just taking
normal.
They're just taking care of that.
It happens.
An interdimensional imp.
It happens.
That's what it is.
It happens.
And Guy Gardner's out there with like a giant green bat whacking him on the head.
Which was great.
And if you were to get, a helicopter over there, there'd be a whole bunch of people sitting there on the ground, with a bag of popcorn, watching the show and going, oh, okay.
There are probably people in those buildings watching
rooting for the Justice Gang. Come on, get that, and nobody is in any danger. The only time in the movie where people are in danger is when,
when Superman's fighting Ultraman in the beginning. Well, the Rift too, but when Superman's fighting Ultraman, there's definitely danger. I mean, the character Ultraman does laser beams through the building and basically tears destroys all those all the windows there.
Oh yeah, but nobody's hurt.
But no one gets hurt. They all duck. They all get out of the way.
And they don't leave the room. They just go back to their seats and watch.
And even the damage that Ultraman does with Superman, like throwing him around into the concrete and everything, he just misses everybody. He just lands right.
Because originally that was originally a major complaint for me. I'm like, this is unrealistic. That all these people are like, not one person leaves the scene where the kaiju is at. Not everybody's just like,
they're all still there. Yeah.
And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And then it clicked to me. I'm like, this is a Super Friends episode. It's a 1970s Saturday morning cartoon. It's not about the reality of whatever. It's that type of mentality. And I think the thing that may have triggered that for me is just seeing, the Hall of Justice, which I thought was great. The Justice Gang hanging out at the Hall of Justice. That's the Super Friends.
The Super Friends.
That is hysterical.
Yeah.
But no, I thought that was funny. And to me, when they let that alien out of the back of the truck, every time I saw it, I'm like, it looks like Lilo and Stitch. It
does. It looks like freaking Stitch.
It looks like Stitch, right?
Yes. It looks like Stitch. If it was purple, it would have been the same.
It would have been
identical.
Stitch. I'm like, that is hysterical.
Lex being in this, we've had multiple iterations of Lex.
And who plays
over
Lex?
The years? Nicholas Hoult.
Okay, every time Chris is like, oh, Lex, who's playing Lex Luthor? No, who is this guy? That's Nicholas Hoult. Who the hell is Nicholas Hoult? He goes, that's the guy who played the Beast in the young, not Kelsey Grammer in the older X-Men movies.
Correct.
But like X-Men First Class and all that. And I'm like, really? It doesn't look like him, but apparently it's him. Okay. Like I in my head, I can't bridge the Beast from those movies and Lex Luthor from these movies, and in my head put it together and say, yeah, it's the same guy.
Yeah, we had Nicholas Hoult, and I thought did a really, really nice job. John and I had a big conversation the other night as we left the film, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, he was so much better than Jesse Eisenberg."
Jesse Eisenberg was a horrible Lex Luthor, but I can't blame Jesse Eisenberg. I blame the writers.
No, I agree with that. Listen, we all know Jesse Eisenberg is a fantastic actor. We've seen him in multiple films where he has been fantastic.
Right.
And there are parts of him being Lex, especially in Batman vs Superman, where I actually thought some of the scenes where he was really good.
No, I think he is absolutely capable of playing a fantastic Lex Luthor.
Yes.
If the screenwriters actually wrote a non-idiotic Lex Luthor.
Yes.
Like how they wrote his character, to me, was horrendous. Because most of the problems I had with his character was in everything he said. To me,
yes, the dialogue.
His dialogue was absurd and idiotic. But he was playing the character.
Yes.
But he had horrible dialogue. And guess who's in charge of the horrible dialogue? The writers. So I'm sorry.
Yep.
I think they did Jesse Eisenberg a disservice by saying, we're going to have you play Lex Luthor, one of the greatest villains in the history of comic books. But, we're going to give you ridiculously horrible dialogue.
But Holt was good. I really liked Holt. I thought he did a really nice job as Lex. I mean, he's bold right away, which is great.
I think the only complaint I had about his version of Lex Luthor was that he was he was really smart, but he was also very immature in certain things. Like, you know what? I think I didn't like that he was smart enough to have an interdimensional prison, but immature and petty enough to imprison an ex-girlfriend who wrote something bad about him on a blog.
But that's his ego.
But that's madness.
But that's his ego.
Yeah.
He's always had a very precious ego.
You know what? I feel like Lex Luthor would have ruined her reputation on the internet.
I'm sure he did that.
As opposed to imprisoning her in an interdimensional prison.
Well, that's the whole thing. I'm sure he did that too.
But that's also basically a 60s comic book 70s.
But obviously, like,
fights.
listen, a Silver Age thing is literally having monkeys with wires to their brains trash talking Superman on the internet.
Yeah.
Which was, I'm sorry, that was great. Like, that was so smart. Like, literally, you had monkeys talking trash about Superman on the internet, on apps, on social media. That to me was great.
And so, like we said, like almost nobody dies in this movie when there should be a good amount of death. But the one scene where, like, where Luthor's got,
Oh, he's playing Russian roulette.
With the Indian guy.
Yeah.
That to me was a little brutal. That was a little scary.
I think they were doing that to show the lengths that Lex will go to.
Yeah.
And to show that he is the villain. Like how diabolical he is. He doesn't care. And he even says it. He's like, I'm going to go find someone else you care about or that you talk to.
Yeah.
And I'll bring them back.
But like, it's funny, like they bring this guy in, and it's at the end of the day, it's like this guy is just some guy
He's a nobody.
Who gave Superman like a free falafel or whatever it was. And it's, it's like, all right, okay, whatever. I found that the fact that Lex Luthor's current girlfriend had a relationship with Jimmy Olsen was very convenient. That was the
Eve
only...
Tessmacher.
That was the
Another
only...
nod to the original Superman.
Yeah. That to me I found to be the only real, like, isn't that convenient? Scenario in the movie. It was the one thing where I was like...
I think there's something...
they wrote themselves into a hole and they didn't know how to get out of it, and they said... We need to bridge something somewhere to make things happen.
Why doesn't Jimmy know her?
Yeah. So we're going to have her and Jimmy be ex-boyfriend and girlfriend. Okay, that's... okay, then. That was my one, like, okay, I guess that's how it is.
I forget the actor's name who played Jimmy Olsen. But I actually thought he did a really, really good job.
And Jimmy Olsen in this movie, to me, was kind of funny because he's
a ladies' man.
He's like a ladies' man.
Yeah.
Which...
There's people in the Daily Planet, these like young girls that are checking him out.
Yeah. And that is not
Jimmy Olsen.
That is not the traditional Jimmy Olsen. That is not the Jimmy Olsen, I don't think, in any iteration.
There was some storyline. I was telling John this the other night. I kind of remember maybe within the last 10 years or so, where something like that was happening, where I feel like Jimmy was getting noticed more by girls in the Daily Planet of around his age. I just can't remember what drew that. If it's because he had money. I can't remember.
Now there's another girl who works at the Daily Planet.
Cat Grant. I mean, they had... Listen, the one thing this movie does, this movie establishes the traditional bullpen for the Daily Planet. You had Perry, you had Jimmy, you had Lois, you had Cat Grant.
And I never heard of Cat Grant before.
And you had Steve
But her
Lombard.
character in the movie was in it enough where I'm like... At some point I went to Chris, I'm like, okay, who is that? They absolutely did not just make up this character for the movie, so who is she? And he goes, yeah, no, it's Cat Grant. And he's like, yeah, she's a little, provocative, slutty, this and that,
she is
pretty, busty, this and that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and the funny point, there's one scene in the movie where Superman goes, hey, eyes up here. And I'm like, that should have been Cat Grant's line. I'm like, that. I think somebody mixed up one of the cue cards, and Superman said that instead of her, because I'm like, that's more in her character than his.
You had Cat, you had Steve Lombard, you had Ron Troop. So you had
wait,
everybody.
Who are those two guys?
Steve Lombard is the sports guy. He was
he
was a guy with I think he had the mustache. He was the one who didn't have he didn't have the seat
Gotcha.
and the T-suite and the.
So even those guys are part of the comics.
Yes.
Yeah, see, I didn't even know that.
Ron Troop is usually like one of the political pundits, and I think oh God, I just said his name. Steve is usually sports.
Gotcha.
And the paper and the reporting.
So let's talk a little bit about the Justice Gang.
Let's go to the Justice Gang.
I think the Justice Gang is hysterical.
I think the Justice Gang.
I'm almost a little upset that there's only 3 of them.
Because I think it's just starting. Well, that's why they're interviewing Peacemaker. I mean, I think we'll see that in his show that they're looking for they're looking for other members.
Yeah, okay, and that's something you got to explain this to me a little bit. I was not aware that Peacemaker was in this universe.
So I don't want to sidetrack too much with this. From what I gathered on one of the trailers, it looks like they're going to somehow get access to this new universe.
So does Peacemaker Season 1 take place in this universe?
No.
No, okay.
It takes place in the DCEU, but somehow they're going to cross over to this DCU.
In Season 2?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
So there's something there, and that's all we're going to say.
Because I was not expecting Peacemaker to make a cameo in this movie. I wasn't expecting anybody that I've seen previously to make a cameo in this movie at all. Yeah. And all of a sudden they show a Peacemaker. And I'll be honest with you, I enjoyed the first season of Peacemaker.
Oh, yes.
And I'm looking forward to Season 2. So if it gets pulled in, that'll be great. They make it sound like he's going to be the next member of the Justice Gang, maybe.
No, he's not. He gets interviewed, and they don't really want him. But to me, like it was funny. But anyway, so the Justice Gang, they are now. I didn't catch this in my first viewing of seeing this, but in the second and the third, I did. The Justice Gang is funded by Maxwell Lord, right?
Who I have no idea who that is,
and that was Sean Gunn. Right, played by Sean Gunn.
Okay.
And he's got that little cameo towards the end.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You also said that the villain in Wonder Woman 1984 is Maxwell Lord.
I'm pretty sure Pedro Pascal is also playing Maxwell Lord.
Okay, but this.
I'd have to double check it. That's off the cuff right now. I'd have to double check that. But I think it is.
But it's not.
It's different.
It's not the same character, right? Different universe.
Yeah, but like this guy, like he has money. I thought he had some type of like mind control ability. So like he could in the comics, like he could be like a major player like coming up, but right now he's forming his own quote unquote Justice Gang.
They made it sound like they were being funded by a pharmaceutical company.
No. It wasn't
like Lord Pharmaceuticals.
I don't know if it's Lord Industries or whatever, but like it's like one of those.
Okay. So it's either way, it's a company.
Yeah.
So you got Guy Gardner. And
probably the worst Green Lantern.
The worst Green Lantern in the comics?
Well, just probably like the worst, like Earth-based Green Lantern.
Yeah. What's his reputation in the comic books?
He's a jackass.
Is he a jerk?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why he got it. Nathan Fillion was great.
Yeah, no, because
he did it so well.
Yeah, no, I liked his portrayal.
Yes, they gave him the bowl cut and everything.
Yeah, and I love that they actually make fun of his haircut in the movie.
When Lois says that line to him, that's great.
That haircut should be against policy, whatever. Yeah. The one thing that I do find a little odd, I had a little hard time, even in the reality that they're presenting, I found it a little odd that whoever has been designated as a Green Lantern on Earth, who is a member of the Green Lantern Corps, would be under contract to anybody. I feel like he would be like an independent person doing his own thing.
You might be seeing that more in the Lanterns show when that comes out.
Seeing more of what?
Why that is.
Oh, okay.
Like why did Guy sign up
to
do that?
It's like for example, like in the MCU, Doctor Strange is like the master of the mystic arts. He's like the guy charged with securing the protection of Earth.
Right.
It's like, you know what? Like he's not gonna work for anybody and take direction from anybody or be on anybody's payroll.
Yeah.
Because he's above that. He's smarter than that. I would consider someone in the Green Lantern Corps. They say, okay, we're making you a Green Lantern and you're in charge of protecting Earth. And it's like, I feel like anybody in the Green Lantern Corps has autonomy.
Yeah, well, for your sector, yeah.
For your sector. Yeah. You may answer to someone higher above you in the Green Lantern Corps, but you don't answer to anybody in the sector that you've been, so that to me, I found a little odd. I was able to get past it, but to me, I was like, I find it odd that a Green Lantern would be working for anybody.
Well, that's why I feel like we'll end up seeing more of that when the Lantern show comes out, because I'm pretty sure Guy Gardner is a part of that show.
Okay. So now we also got Hawkgirl. And I'll be honest with you. I loved Hawk Girl in the preview because they didn't really show that much, but it looked great. And my biggest complaint about Hawk Girl in the movie is I felt that she was too short. She was tiny. She was really tiny, and I think Hawk Girl in the comic books, she's not bulky, but she's tall. You know, she's a little more imposing. And now, I know in the comic books, Hawkman and Hawk Girl are not Earthlings. They're from, I forget what it's called, Thanagar. I'm pretty sure this girl is from Earth, and she has been given a hawk costume and a mace.
Or she could be like a reincarnated. And there's something to that too. So like we may find out more about Hawk.
And
Girl,
they give her
she has a mace.
A mace, and she's got these giant bulging eyes when she's fighting, and she makes all these wacky facial expressions, which are a little like over the top. But they give her, I think, a scream or a screech.
They give her like a sonic
screech.
Scream,
so I'm curious where that comes from. But at the end of the day, I feel like if she's not really a super strong alien, they got to give her something to make her have something in the fight.
Yeah.
So she's got some sort of sonic screech, and she can fly, and maybe her costume gives her, some strength or whatever. Maybe it's like a little bit like an exoskeleton. But I'm just like, I just found her way too short and unimposing.
Okay.
I expected her to be, I think a much taller, imposing Hawk Girl would be a more impressive Hawk Girl. And then you had Mr. Terrific, who, I'm going to let you talk about Mr. Terrific, because I had no idea who Mr. Terrific was before this movie. But I tell you, I liked him.
Yeah,
I liked his character. He's apparently really smart.
He's a genius.
But he's also like kind of cool. He's not like, a nerdy type genius. He's like, almost like, yeah, I'm smart, and if you don't believe me, I'll kick your ass.
Yeah.
He
knows it. Like he's like, no, this is smart. He knows it.
Yeah,
he's smart.
he's got like a swagger to him.
Yeah, he's got an attitude.
And yeah, I liked his character. I didn't know if I was going to like his character or not, but I wound up liking his character.
Yeah,
you tell me
when they had the characters, when they revealed that in the trailer,
I know nothing about Mr. Terrific.
I was like shocked that they were going to have these particular three that they had in there. I was like, really? Like we're going to have?
But you know what? In the trailer, you don't really know that they're associated.
Well, they kind of show a little bit of the kaiju fight, and they show that they're like there for that.
Yeah, but you know what? But like at the end of the day, like they could just be like, there's a kaiju in the middle of Metropolis,
and all these heroes show up.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly don't think it is very clear that necessarily that they're together
from the trailer.
Yeah, and I like that, and I kind of like that. It's funny though. Like they argue about, and it's funny they argue about like whether they should the Justice Gang or not.
Yeah.
But it's funny because on the news slots in the movie, they call them the Justice Gang.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they are, whether they like it or not.
I feel like that's more Guy Gardner's doing.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. He's like, it's like after they beat the kaiju, they like everybody's around clapping or whatever, and they're like they're eating up the. Eating up the glory.
The press.
It's just a matter of like, oh, yeah, we took care of this, we basically took care of Godzilla. And it's like, I'm like, all right, which wasn't that hard.
I'll tell you, I have a couple of scenes that are like some of my favorite, but one of my favorite scenes is the interview that happens between Clark and Lois. And I feel like this happens kind of early in the film.
Yeah.
And the two actors, so David Cornsweet is playing Clark Kent Superman, and
Can you tell me
Brosnahan,
anything that either of those two have been in prior to this movie?
Rachel Brosnahan was Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Okay, which I never saw.
Which is a fantastic show on I believe that's on Hulu. She's been around she's been in a few other things as well. David Cornsweet hasn't been in as much. He was in Twisters. He was one of the characters in that.
Twister or Twisters?
Twisters, the new one.
Really?
Yeah, he kind of played a bad guy. He kind of played a jerk, actually.
That's kind of funny because I saw that movie and I didn't recognize him at all.
No, I don't know if you would. He's been in like a couple other things too. Off the top of my head, I can't remember, but like that was like one of the main things that I remember he's in.
Because I remember you telling me, "Oh, it's being played by so and so," and I'm like, I have no idea.
Listen, David Cornsweet he's like 6'4". He put on a bunch of weight to look like Superman, and I mean physically he's got it. He looks great. But one of the things that truly stands out in this film is the chemistry between those two. They did a really nice job interacting with one another. Their chemistry helps sells a part of this film.
I liked the Lois Lane in this movie.
Oh, Rachel Brosnahan was great.
I thought she was a good Lois Lane.
But they have an interview towards the beginning where basically Lois kind of makes fun of Clark because Clark is interviewing Superman and does a whole like news article about it, and she's like, "You're interviewing yourself?" She's like, "That's very easy when you know what the questions are going to be."
Yeah.
So she basically like goads him into interviewing him, right then and there.
And the interview was predominantly about him
saving.
Getting involved in an international affair between two other countries.
Which one of them is an ally of ours and one of them is not.
And I'll be honest with you, I found that the questions that they were talking about, the concepts, I was thinking about what's right and what's wrong. And you got to sit there and you got to think about it. And you got to, like at the end of the day, the entire world is involved in conflict here, conflict there, this and that. And I don't know that it is correct. I don't know that it is correct for Superman to get involved in another country's war. Because I refuse to believe that that's the only war going on at that time. There's all sorts of things going on between countries all over the world. And it's like, he says, well, people are going to die. Yes, that is actually correct. When there's war, people are going to die. You can't just stop a war because people are going to die. Like, to me, that's a very simplistic way of looking at it. Like, you're just going to stop every war because people are going to die. It's not, I don't know if it's that simple.
But I think that's where his frustration comes in. And I think that was
he doesn't want people to die.
I think that was to me like that was one of the brilliant aspects about this interview is that you really see and feel Clark's frustration with people in the United States and the world that see his interaction, see his involvement in that as a bad thing. Because to him, all it was about was stopping the war and saving those people, because he sees them as innocent and he sees them as like the other country was going to take advantage of them. And he says a great line, and I'm going to paraphrase it, but basically he's like, no country should ever invade another just because it's smaller or like weaker than them.
Yeah.
Like they don't have the right to go and do that, and it was, again, that was, a paraphrase, but like, it was such you just feel the emotion, and Lois is pressing him over and over again with different questions, and she's asking hard questions, like questions that you have to think about.
Yeah, I think that might be the hardest part of the movie is that interview.
It's a very serious interaction between those two, and like the tension gets really high, and then he just blurts out, because he's just like, people were gonna die, and like that, to him, that's all he cared about.
Right.
That's what he saw, and Lois is trying to tell him, you're seen as a representative of the United States because you're here. And to him, he's like, I'm not a representative of anybody. Like, I'm just me trying to do good. And he doesn't see or get that people don't see him that way.
Yeah.
They're always, they're thinking about the other side of the coin. Like, what is he getting out of this? Or what is the United States getting out of this? Because of his association with the United States.
What's going to happen when the United States decides to get involved with a war with somebody else? At the end of the day, most countries in the world are smaller than the U.S., so what's he going to do? Is he going to stop the U.S. from doing what they're doing?
Yep. And I mean, listen, to your point before about like him stopping all wars, it may be about stopping the most immediate threat, or stopping certain wars. Right.
But that, what it comes down to is like,
Because you're setting.
You're setting yourself as the person who makes the decision what wars should be allowed and which ones shouldn't be, and
Right.
You're getting involved with with world politics on a global scale.
And not for nothing, like that to me was a brilliant part of this film is to, you want to talk about before we're setting the film up in this Silver Age Super Friends type thing. This part of the film takes itself more seriously.
Yes,
and
I agree.
It really puts into perspective if someone like this was here,
what would they do?
What would they do? What decisions would they make? And there is I don't want to change subjects too much with this, but there's a portion of this in Batman vs Superman where there is a huge discussion on different news outlets that gets played, and it's talking about Superman, like he's here. Does he have the right to go into other countries and take matters into his own hands? And there's that question of what should Superman do? Should he not act unless he's told to? Or should he have autonomy to choose what he wants to stop? And I think that's a really hard answer. It's a great question by Lois, and I think she. I told you were going to do that. I told you. And it's a really great question by Lois because I think she is trying to make Clark think about how to approach a situation like this again in the future, because yes, he's only been Superman for 3 years, but this is not going to be the last time he comes up against something like this.
And most superheroes don't have to deal with those questions.
No.
Someone like Spider-Man is just really dealing with, what's going on in New York City.
And his neighborhood.
Right. Same as Daredevil.
But Superman is someone that's more global. He literally can go into any country at any time and help solve something.
Right. Like Doctor Strange is the master of the mystic arts, and he's doing all sorts of crazy stuff, but he's dealing with interdimensional threats that the world doesn't. Right. He's saving the entire planet so that the planet can go on and do all the crazy stuff that it does. Like same thing almost like with the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four are trying to save the entire planet from Galactus so that people can go on killing themselves after in wars and stuff.
And it's to me like this was one of the quintessential acts of Superman, just like seeing who he is. I thought this was really well done, but it leads to a big fight between between Clark and Lois, and you see them really butt heads and actually have a conflict.
Yeah,
and we haven't seen a lot of that. I feel in prior films.
I think in the past, Lois and Clark are just like that.
Yeah,
all the time.
And I think it was a really good move by Gunn to actually create tension between them.
Yeah.
Because once that happens, they separate for just a little bit.
Yeah. It's thought-provoking.
And then the next time they see each other is after the message comes out. Mm-hmm. And I mean, talking about the message. So we have great cameo by Bradley Cooper.
And I'll be honest with you, I had no idea that was Bradley Cooper until after you told me.
So Bradley Cooper plays Jor-El. Fantastic casting. I'll get back to that in a second. I forget who plays Laura, but she's been in another James Gunn film before. She's been around. So we get a message from Jor-El, from Clark's parents. Very similar to other films where it's talking about sending him to this planet. He could help the people of Earth, right. And to use his abilities and everything else, right?
But the message is damaged in transit,
right.
And you never get the second half
until the engineer comes in, and she
gets it,
is able to finish or correct the message,
I'll be honest with you, I find that hard to believe.
I find it a little unbelievable
that the Kryptonian robots would not be able to do that.
Between the Kryptonian robots not being able to do it and the engineer integrating with Kryptonian technology, that part to me was one of those conveniences.
A little bit of a stretch.
Where it was like, okay, we're going to make this happen because we can, and she has nanites, which is something new that people don't understand, so we're going to throw this into it. So again, she finds the rest of the message. and it gets played for the world.
And it's really kind of interesting because I feel like a less riskier director would have had Lex Luthor manipulating it and making a second half of the message to fit,
which is what everyone is expecting.
Right, and it's actually not. They literally find the other second half of the message, and the second half of the message is disturbing.
Yeah, and it's basically him just rebuild Krypton on Earth with as many wives as you need.
And that is
use your DNA.
Even though the whole harem thing is a kind of funny type running joke through the movie, to me it was a bold decision to have Lex Luthor find the actual message and say, you know what, this is the message, and guess what?
It's real.
It's critically damning to Superman's image.
Absolutely, and that's the way that you beat him. The way that you kind of take him down, or that Lex is trying to take him down, is he's trying to decrease Superman's likability by just knocking him down with anything that they could attack his character with, because people don't really know him. He's only been around for a short period of time, but people don't. They still. Even with the great things that he does in saving people, Lex talks about he's grooming us. Lex goes into this one interview that he's talking about, and basically is saying how he doesn't trust Superman, and that he's at one point there's a conversation he has later on there's he's weakening us, and that's how Lex sees Superman. He's like, we're becoming so reliant on him, we're not growing as a species,
right? And
we're idolizing him, we're just giving him that.
Yeah, he's just priming everything for the takeover,
right? And that's how Lex ultimately sees it. So Lex creates his own Planet Watch, which I thought was an interesting name.
I thought that was interesting.
I thought that was an interesting choice of a name for who he's created, and he talks about creating Ultraman and creating the Engineer. So he's already, and he has these raptors, which are these battle.
The hammer of Baravia, is really just Ultraman in an iron suit.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I found really kind of absurdly funny and naive is when the hammer of Baravia leaves Metropolis. He just flies, a mile or two away to a beach off Metropolis.
Well, it was there's an abandoned military area that's been refurbished.
Okay, so nobody followed him. Nobody knows that that's where he went.
Right.
He didn't, fly across the ocean to an island.
I'll admit,
he literally went to Metropolis Beach and said,
I actually agree with that. I think that was a little too convenient,
a little too lax.
That it was literally just outside the skirts.
And the hammer of Baravia has now left the scene, and nobody knows where he went. Well, I can see him; he's there, and I think he landed on the. Wait, I got my binoculars. Yeah, he's on the beach. He's on the beach.
You feel like anyone in one of the skyscrapers on Metropolis could have saw where he went.
Really?
So I mean, that was there's a little bit of that. That's fine.
I found it kind of very interesting the way they had all of the attack moves programmed.
Yes.
Lex just had to say move E9, G37, almost like playing chess.
It was like Battleship.
Yeah, it was crazy. And it was just boom, boom. And it's actually impressive because I think somebody says he came up with 2,500 moves.
Yeah.
And he's got them all in his head, and he can just look at it, what's going on, and say, "This is the right move."
Right.
F-19, boom. I sunk your battleship.
It was interesting. The first time I remember watching that, I was, I actually don't think I was too big of a fan when I first started watching that. I felt like it was just too simplistic that Lex was able to think that fast and take out Superman using Ultraman, using those battle moves.
Yeah.
But after watching it the next couple of times, I think it's really more of a testament to his genius.
The only way
and he's predicting Superman's moves It's not so much that he's coming up with moves to beat Superman, it's that he knows what Superman's going to do.
The only way that works is when you have Ultraman acting out the commands.
Yeah.
Because if it's just a robot, it's not strong enough. If it's somebody,
And they're not quick enough.
If it's just a guy in a robot suit, it's not going to be enough. But what you have is a Superman clone who's just as strong as Superman in a suit of armor doing this stuff.
Yeah.
And that makes it enough, because if Ultraman is not doing it, it's not gonna work.
Yeah. So I started to understand that the second time I saw it, that I actually got it a little bit more and I understood it.
So the first time that, well, not the first, maybe the only time, when Lex Luthor invades the Fortress of Solitude, he's able to get in, and nobody knows why. And it turns out it's because Ultraman.
I mean, the big
is a clone.
I don't know if you want to say it's a big reveal, but I mean, like, Ultraman was made a clone of Clark, saying that after all the battles that you've had, you were bound to have a hair or something left behind or a drop of blood,
and use that to clone him.
And he used it to clone him.
So when they're in there, Crypto, attacks them,
mm-hmm.
and I remember you telling me that there was probably a scene that was in original screenings where I'm sure it happened in this, where they punch Crypto.
Where Ultraman punches Crypto,
and a lot of people didn't like that. So I guess they changed it to where the engineer just kind of puts like the
nanites on him,
and that's how they subdue Crypto. But yeah, like nobody wants to see Ultraman or anybody punching Crypto in the head and knocking him out or whatever. And like people and I'm like funny. I'm like, you know what, like if you want to cement yourself as a bad guy, beating up on Crypto the Superdog is the way to do it. Like that, that makes you a bad guy.
Hurt the dog.
Yeah. But I guess it was too much.
No, it was.
And I think, I think I get that.
I thought that was a smart move, doing that. But to me, like the biggest reveal. So if we're going to talk about the reveal now, right? So we're talking about Lex, that he cloned Clark. Is it truly Ultraman? And
So I don't know who Ultraman is in the comics, and you do.
Well, Ultraman's a part of the crime syndicate from Earth 3. So he's basically like an evil version of Superman
on a different
Earth, in a different universe, and basically it's like an evil version of the Justice Gang or Justice League, rather.
Gotcha.
Right,
okay.
and they're called the Crime Syndicate. So all the superheroes are supervillains on that planet. It's just the opposite. But this doesn't feel like that to me. This feels like Bizarro. And what I'm going to... These are the reasons why I feel that way. Lex talks about... Obviously, he's a clone, which pretty sure Bizarro was. Lex says he's dumber than Superman.
Yeah.
But he's also very obedient.
And Bizarro
where he listens.
Is dumber than...
Yeah.
Dumber than crap.
He is. He's dumber, but he listens to Lex. So to me... I think this is the beginning of Bizarro, and at some point, so there's a scene where Bizarro gets sucked in, or towards the end of the film, where Ultraman
gets sucked into a black
hole.
Sucked
into the black hole, and
we think he's going to be back.
At some point, I feel like he'll end up coming back. I don't know if Lex is going to bring him back, or we're going to find him in maybe this is where he finds the Bizarro world, Bizarro planet, right? And he just lands there. So at some point, I feel like we're going to end up seeing him again, and he'll be Bizarro at that point. It's not really the true Ultraman, but we'll see how that goes.
So now, the best Easter egg in the movie, in my opinion.
Oh, you want me to talk about Otis?
Yeah.
So
this Easter egg is so embedded that it's got two layers to it. And I didn't catch either layer of it during the movie.
When the rift is happening and it's going through the buildings of Metropolis, at some point it's about to hit Luthor Corp Tower, right? And as it's going through, the people in Luthor Corp are starting to get all nervous, and Lex is finally like, he gives this guy the signal, but he says like, okay, Otis, get us out. And you see this guy, Otis, take the lever and drop it down. Well, most Superman fans know Otis was played by Ned Beatty in the original Superman the movie.
Right.
And in Superman 2. So his first name is Otis, but that's all you hear.
Right.
And then we actually just looked this up beforehand
on IMDb
because I'm looking through the credits, and his last name is Berg.
His actual character name is Otis Berg.
And Otis Berg is one of the regions and properties that was supposed to be created by Lex after the earthquake hit in Superman the movie.
California.
In California.
Bye-bye West Coast.
Say
hello to
like the
New West Coast.
New West Coast, yeah. Casa de Lex, all that stuff.
Right. And then on the map is
Otisburg.
Otisburg. And he's like, Otisburg? He's like, it's just a tiny little place. Otisburg? And then, because
then he gets down
Otis wrote it on in black, wrote it in there. He wants his little Otisburg. So the fact that this character's name is Otis Berg, to me, is absolutely hysterical.
Yeah, no, that was a great nod.
Chris was like, Otis. And I'm like, who? He's telling me about Otis in the movie. I'm like, who the hell was Otis in the movie? He goes, it's like the big black guy who was like in charge of a lot of the people. He was like almost like a secondhand. He was like secondhand man over there giving the orders. And he's like, he told him he called him Otis during that scene. I'm like, I didn't catch that.
It only says it once. He only does it once.
Right. He only says it once.
But it was good. It was good enough.
But yeah, the next time I see the movie, I'm going to look in the credits and see if it says Otis Berg. I'm assuming it will. But it's hard to catch all that in the credits. Yeah, I'm sure his name in the credits is not at the top. It's further down.
There's another great scene between Superman and Lois before Superman turns himself in Clark's apartment, and like Lois is there, and this is where John was talking before about how like you're looking out the window and you see the Justice Gangs taking down this interdimensional imp, which is great. I mean, that's almost like a hint at Mixie's Pitalik, but I don't think that's him. But it was interesting because like
I didn't
Mixie's Pitalik is an imp. It's
dimensional. I did not catch that at all. I think they had that in the preview, and originally you think
it's almost like Brainiac because it kind of looked like color-wise it looked like that.
But the problem is in the preview you didn't see the full imp full on. Yeah. You only saw it like partially because Lois and or Superman were blocking the view.
Right.
So you didn't really see what it was. But I'm like, oh man, I remember feeling like, oh my, like freaking introducing Brainiac to Brainiac.
No,
that would be amazing.
I think it's too early for that. But like in that scene though, like Lois and Clark, they talk about the message, but then they also talk about like Clark's talking about crypto. Like he can't find crypto. Like he knows that Lex has him, and he's like, the only way I'm going to be able to find him is if I turn myself in. And she's like, why? It's just a dog. And he goes, yeah, and he's not even a really good one, which is funny. But but like he's scared and he's alone, and this may be the only chance he has to find him. So like that again, just it's showing the good nature of Superman in this, and that to me was. That was a really great scene.
Well, what I love in the preview is when you first see Crypto, he just kind of shows up where Superman is. But in a later preview, you see not only Crypto show up to where Superman is laying in the snow, but he jumps on him. Yeah. Boom! And Superman's like, really? And Crypto probably does it more than once. It's actually it's kind of funny. Like he's playing. And so this is going to get me to my one significant complaint about the entire process of the film. I liked the movie, but I felt that the previews gave away too much because in literally almost, if you break down the movie scene by scene, almost every scene in the movie, there is a piece of that scene in the previews. Not in the massive previews.
Right. And the ones
So
that
if you watch all the previews, and if you were to actually take all the scenes from those previews and splice them together in chronological order where they appear in the movie, you have almost the entire movie told to you.
Yeah.
Granted, not in great detail, but I felt like it was like jumbled up Cliff Notes. The preview to me was basically jumbled up Cliff Notes for the entire. You could have read through all those previews, and you have the Cliff Notes to the entire film, and that's not a criticism of the film because I enjoyed the film. To me, it's a criticism of the preview because I felt that it gave us too much, and what it does is it takes away from the enjoyment of the film. To me, it did a little bit because I felt like there was almost nothing in the movie that surprised me because every scene I had seen already in a small piece. I was like it left nothing. I was like, oh, this is great. I can't wait to see the rest of the movie. You know what? There is no rest of the movie. That is the entire movie in a very strung together in these short clips. There was literally almost no scene in the movie. Maybe one or two. But that's not enough. Like
it shouldn't have given away much.
It shouldn't have told as much.
Yeah.
And I felt cheated.
I can see that.
I felt cheated a little bit. I think I would have enjoyed the movie a lot more if I never saw any of the previews.
Yeah.
Because everything would have been like, oh, wow.
Well, because you're kind of going through the movie like, okay, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Okay, I've seen that.
Yeah. And I that to me was...
I think that's fair criticism.
At the end of the day, the previews got to sell the movie, and it did. It totally sold. Everybody went to go see it, and I get that. Yeah. But it's like, you know what? I felt that they were a little too ambitious. I felt they went a little too far. And I was just like, I was disappointed in that the movie held no surprises. There was nothing in the movie that held surprises, except, I think, the cameo at the end.
Oh, Supergirl at the end?
So they bring in Supergirl at the very end, and it's actually kind of funny because it's... I mean, I liked...
I don't think you expected her to act the way she did.
Yeah, I liked the Supergirl in Flash. You know what I mean?
Oh, Callie... something. Yes, no, I actually did too. I thought she was one of the bright spots of that film.
Yeah, I enjoy. She was a very kind of different Supergirl, but I liked her a lot. And this Supergirl is like polar opposite of that girl from Flash. This Supergirl, she's like, a young... I don't know that she's immature, but she's a party goer.
Yeah.
She wants to hang out and have a good time. She's almost like a teenager.
Yeah.
She's just doing her thing. So when Superman says, the whole thing with Krypto is a foster situation, is basically Superman is looking after
Krypto.
Supergirl's dog. Krypto is Supergirl's dog. And it's...
Which to me actually works out well. Because my guess is what they're going to end up doing is when we actually see that, we're going to see that Krypto and Supergirl probably came together on the same ship. I wouldn't be surprised if they came together.
Oh, yeah.
If they arrived.
Well, you know what? How did that happen in the comic books? How did Supergirl get to Earth?
I think...
Not in the same ship.
No, not in the same ship. From what I remember, Krypto was sent out in a test rocket that got off course or whatever. Okay. So, Superman still... Baby Kal-El still gets to Earth first.
Right.
And then Krypto arrives at some point.
And then but then Supergirl doesn't arrive.
Supergirl arrives much later afterwards. So it's kind of like, I don't know what wormhole they're going through or the time differences and how that all works. But, she got there much later. So, Kal-El's all grown up and she's still a teenager.
There was one part of the movie that, and I know you agree with me on this, there was one part of the movie that I thought was a little odd because I felt like they went out of their way to establish something and then completely disregarded it and went the opposite direction. Where, the robots claim to have no emotional attachment or emotions of any kind. They talk about, we're robots, we don't care, this and that and the other thing. And then, but in various scenes, the robots do show like emotions or attachments or quirkiness, that like almost like humans, like they literally go out of the way. They're like, we're not human, we're robots, and we don't care, and it doesn't matter. And then all of a sudden, the robots actually exhibit the opposite of that. They exhibit like things like that. And I felt like they should have just let the robots be the way they were.
Well, I almost took it as like they're taking on traits of Kal-El, because Kal-El is constantly trying to become more human.
Okay.
And yet they're looking at Kal-El as an example of probably how to act or be. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's why, regardless of like the robots themselves, like, the one robot in charge, right? Like, what was he, number 4?
Yeah.
Gary. He was, saying how like, we don't really have those emotional attachments or feelings.
And then all of a sudden they're quirky and like emotional, like people. And I'm like, all right,
developing personalities.
You went out of your way to say this, and then you ignored it and gave the robots personalities anyway. So to me, I thought that was a little odd. I mean, it doesn't ruin the film in any way. I'm just like, I just looked at it. I'm like, all right. I'm like, that didn't really make sense, because like it happens almost immediately. Like it happens like in the same scene. It's not like they say it and then 20 minutes later they it's not really the case. It's like, it's like 25 seconds later it's not the case. It's like in the same scene, and I'm like, all right, well, that made no sense. So to me, I thought that was a little goofy. Unless, the first robot is wrong. He says we're not like that, but we are. Well, I'm waiting for the other robots to say, don't say that.
Capturing Lex at the very end was a nice wrap up, right? Because like how are they gonna stop Lex? Because Lex is he's gonna start to get away, and Superman gets there, arrives with Krypto and Mr. Terrific to finally shut down the rift. But it's great because Krypto goes after Lex.
Yeah.
In a very similar way that like the Hulk takes Loki
and
just slams him all over the place.
Yes.
It's a very very similar like little nod to that, where like Krypto takes Lex as Lex is about to like give his little speech. Krypto just takes him and starts
just like,
and just tossing around.
Yeah,
but like but that
that's a very good comparison. That it didn't strike me. Once you said that, now I'm like, because
it was very similar how like Loki was about to give a speech and Hulk just took him and bashed him around. But like Superman gives a really nice speech right there. I think he gives a really nice speech where he's like, we're talking to Lex and he's like I am as human as anybody. He's like, he goes through all these emotions that he feels, and that, he wakes up each day and he's not sure about what to do, but he just puts one foot in front of the other. And Lex basically just doesn't care. He just doesn't care about him. He just sees him as someone that shouldn't have this power. And Superman basically tells him, I hope for the sake of the world one day you feel the same way. And then Lex is about to go off, and that's when Krypto takes him and starts tossing him all over the place like a rag doll. But like it was a good moment again, because like I think James Gunn even says like that was something that they did later, because it gives some context to Superman and what he feels and what he's going through, and again trying to humanize him to Lex and even like the people that are there. But like it was a nice little like confrontation, but one that you can tell is this is just the beginning. Like this is not the end. Like the end of that scene, Lex is so enraged that he lost, and he almost can't believe it. That you just see it in his face.
Well, you know what? In that scene, like his face is so like distorted. It's weird, and they put that. His face like that in one of the previews, and it looks odd. It looks like
but in the full context of it, you can finally understand it. Like that scene, it's at the height of him realizing he just lost, and he can't calculate that. He almost like can't deal with that emotion that he lost to him. Like that's not how it was supposed to go. It wasn't supposed to happen that way.
Now, what about the street signs?
So there's some really cool cameos, well, not cameos, but Easter eggs in the film, right? So there's 3 street signs that I ended up seeing.
I only saw one of them, and I saw it both times I watched the movie, there was one street sign that said, I think, East Jurgens Street.
Yeah, so we got a
And
nod to Dan Jurgens.
You know, a little shout out to Dan Jurgens. But Chris said that there were two more, and I didn't catch either of the other two. I don't think I did.
The other ones were Wade, so for Mark Wade.
WAID.
Yep. And then
Ross.
What was the third one? And then Ross, right, for Alex Ross.
Alex Ross.
You know, those are the three that I ended up seeing.
Alex Ross, Mark Wade being the people involved in Kingdom Come. And Dan Jurgens, I think, is just
was a known Superman.
Very well-known Superman
artist. For numerous years. I just think that those are the three that I ended up seeing. There may have been a little bit more, like some other little interesting nods. They had like Big Belly Burger, which is like the fast food joint that is in DC and the DC Comics.
I'm so glad you mentioned this.
That's the second time you've done that.
That's okay. So something that I found very, and I don't know how on point this is, but I feel like the movie had a good amount of product placement for products that don't exist in our reality. They exist in the DC universe. And I found that because when they were talking about the donut, I'm sure that donut place that they were talking about doesn't exist. You know, and there's all sorts of storefronts and this and that. And I'm sitting there going, I'm like they're actually going through the motions of doing product placement for fictional products, which to me is mind-blowing. Like, you know what? Like there's a product placement quota, and you got to fulfill it any way you can. And even if all the products are fictional, it doesn't matter. You better you need a certain amount of product placement, so fill it up with these things that only exist in the DC universe. Yeah. And I'm like, I would love to really know the rationale behind that. The decisions in the movie to do that. Were they really just being funny? Mm-hmm. You know, like were they like, you know what, we're gonna do product placement. It's gonna be for things that make no sense, things that only exist in, you know, like. And somebody's going to be like, do we need to do that? He's like, no, but it'll be funny.
I think there's a few other things that may have been in that I may have missed, but those are the ones that I remember seeing. I mean,
but there was a couple, like I said, the donut, the Big Belly Burger, but there was other ones where it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, they were part of the DC
I'm like, these are not real places, but they're going out of their way to make, like, if like, you know, like an Avengers movie that takes place in New York, they're going to focus on this and that and the other thing. So, you know, this, you know, Superman movie takes place in Metropolis, and we're going to give, you know, shout outs to these fake Metropolis businesses. Okay, whatever. One thing we did not talk about at all, Ma and Pa Kent.
Yeah, I liked Ma and Pa Kent. I thought they were very humble.
It was a very different, unique take on those characters. Yep. They were like very simple, humble, wholesome, just, I mean, almost like simple, like almost like really small town.
Yeah.
Like, you know, not used to like the expository speeches that we've heard in the past from Superman the movie, from, I forget who played Ma and Pa Kent in there. But even like in Superman the movie.
No, Ford, right?
Glenn Ford. Or even, you know, William Costner.
Kevin Costner.
When I get William Costner. Kevin Costner.
Yeah, and Man of Steel.
You know, like, or even the person who played Ma Kent in Superman v.
Batman v Superman.
Batman v Superman. I forget her name. She was like the dirty blonde.
Yeah.
They held like you know what? Like, I was like, this was like a very different type of Ma and Pa Kent. Very laid back. Diane Ladd or Lane. Diane Lane. You know, and I almost like all of the Ma and Pa Kents in previous versions.
No, I thought they
are all very different.
I thought they did a really nice job with this. I mean, obviously they had like a little farm, and it wasn't like a.
They were like very hokey. They were almost like Ma and Pa Kettle. You know, it was like weird. It was like they were very downplayed. They were, you know, They were just really simple farm folk, just, raising their son the best they could.
Yep.
The end. They weren't,
But there's a great interaction though with Clark and Pa Kent. Like that was,
and in the
that to me
previews, you only see Pa Kent. We were like, oh my God,
maybe
there is no Ma Kent.
This time maybe Ma passes.
Yeah,
and
and it's just
still
Pa.
around.
Right, because usually, Pa Kent, dies early.
You didn't see her until the second preview, and then there's
Yeah.
that whole scene of "I'll go get your boots." But the scene with the two of them on the bench is a really powerful, emotional moment where like Clark is just, again, he's just going through that whole message thing, and everything that he's grown up believing to him is now almost like a lie, and his dad's like, what you wanted that message to be means more than what your parents could have written, like what they could have put in there for you.
Yeah,
like it says more about you than whatever that message says or
almost
could have been.
Almost like he's above that.
Yeah, and basically he talks about like his action, like your actions make you, your actions, your decisions make you who you are. And it was such a really great moment.
And I feel like they were not in the movie that much, but Pa Kent was more like giving the
he needs that like reassurance.
Giving those speeches,
Yeah.
And it's like they said, I almost feel like we obviously want Ma and Pa Kent in here, but we're not going to spend a lot of time with them. But the short time that we do have with them is going to be good. And then because at the end of the day, like they had a lot of ground and characters to cover.
Yes.
But you know what? Oddly enough, the movie was not exorbitantly long.
No, it was a little over 2 hours.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you
which is surprising.
One of the if I had a criticism, something that I had to really gripe about,
it was too short.
I would say that it was probably slightly too short. This movie could have done another 10 minutes, 10, 12 minutes, and I think you could have done a little bit more with Ma and Pa Kent. The group that I feel like got short-sighted on this were the Daily Planet crew. I feel like you really could have done a little bit more with them. As much as I loved seeing the people, the bullpen, the Daily Planet characters, I really feel like we could have seen more interaction. I'm sure maybe there was some stuff that was on the cutting room floor because we barely see Ron Troop. Like Ron Troop literally he's in the background in a couple of shots and then literally gets a name drop once, and that's all he is. That's it for his role. Obviously we see Jimmy, we see a little bit of Perry. We see Kat a little bit.
Yeah, we don't really see Perry all that much.
But we get Perry like just enough.
But you know what?
Just enough.
Even though the movie was not that long, the movie moved.
Oh, it carried a lot. It was well paced.
To me, it was more reminiscent of an older style of filmmaking where, a lot of these more recent films, you watch it, it's 2.5 hours, and you sit there and say, not for nothing,
you could have trimmed
if I was editing this movie, I could have taken 15 minutes out of this movie and not cut anything of important, like not taking anything out.
Yeah.
Because so many movies today they're just drawn out with long shots and slow music. And
I don't think anything was left in here that was like extra fat. They
just drag it on, and it's like. Not for nothing, it's hard to make a lean movie that constantly moves and goes from point A to B, C, D, 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 as opposed to here's point A and let's drag it all the way up to point B.
But also too, this is the first movie in this franchise too.
Yeah.
So it's like you had a bunch to get out there.
I like that.
And you kept it, and you kept it just enough.
Anybody else would have made, not that they would have been capable of making the same exact movie, but anybody else would have made the same exact movie a half an hour longer.
Yeah.
It would, and it would have been dead space. It would have just been, that tracking shot from Superman looking over there, as opposed to just cutting to what he's looking at. Somebody else would have just been like, "There's Superman. What's he looking at?" Dun, 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 dun. Like, to me, I'm not a big fan of that style of filmmaking. To me, it's just dragging out. You're dragging the story out, and you're not contributing anything to the story. You're just dragging out the presentation. And I'm harking to an older age of film where, oh my God, like you watch a movie like Gone with the Wind, that's 3.5 hours long. They make that movie today, it's 12.5 hours long. Because they don't know how to. They don't know how to just get things done and move along, and then everything's got like you could have a scene where it's like it's in the valley and then it's at the ranch. Today it's in the valley. We better show a lot of landscapes and we got to show the whole valley for 20 minutes. No, just boom. What happened next? Boom. It's all about editing. And this, like I said, 2 hours and
9 minutes.
9 minutes
from start to
including
finish. Including the credits.
That's amazing, because I remember you telling me it's only like a little over 2 hours long, and I'm like, oh, that seems short. But you know what? You can do a lot in 2 hours if you decide to just do a lot and not fill up empty space.
Yeah.
So there was a lot going on, and we've had to say, we wish we would have had a little bit more of that. If that movie would have been 2.5 hours, it would have been filled with another 20 minutes of more stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I like that, but yeah, I feel like there could have been a little bit more Ma and Pa Kent. There could have been a little more.
Daily Planet's the only thing. Those characters, I think I wanted to see a little bit more of. Maybe even a little bit more Lex. But I mean, like that was really like my biggest thing. Is I feel like I wanted to see a little bit more of them. But I love the interactions between, to me, Clark and Lois were like the heart of the movie. Great chemistry between them. They really, I loved all the scenes they were in. I really did. Mr. Terrific had some really great scenes.
Yeah, he surprised me.
Even the scenes with him and Lois. When they were going to try to find Superman when he was in the pocket dimension.
He actually surprised me. I liked his character more than I thought I was going to.
He had some really... the scene on the beach at the military base I thought was great. That was really fun. To see him using his technology in the T-spheres was pretty cool.
You know what scene I thought was really goofy? Is when Jimmy goes to Lois Lane and says, I know where Superman is. She's like, where? He goes, he's in a pocket universe. Thanks, Jimmy. He's like, thank you. Like, what does that even mean? Like that.
Well, she tried to get out of him how he knew that.
What does that mean? He goes, I don't know.
Yeah.
But all I know is he's in a pocket universe. But like, she doesn't take that and say, that doesn't freaking help me. She's like, thanks. I'm like, is he in Never Neverland? Is he in limbo?
But what does she do with that information? She takes that to Mr. Terrific. She takes that to the Justice Gang,
right, but it's
figuring
like,
they're going to be able to figure it out.
He's in another dimension.
Oh, that was the one thing too that we didn't talk about. So like, I like that he
not really telling me much.
I like that they're trying to give an universe reason for why people don't recognize Clark and Superman is the same. And that he's got these like hypno glasses, so it makes his head or his face look different.
Now, tell me if I'm crazy, but I'll be honest with you. I feel like there are a number of scenes in this movie where Clark Kent / Superman actually don't look the same.
Well, I think it's done on purpose. Like when Clark is at the Daily Planet, he
but
looks different.
Sometimes his facial characteristics in certain scenes. I feel like it's not a consistent vision.
I mean, that's
like when he was flying and he almost looked straight like.
Oh, that could be seen.
And then like when they show the scene where the person throws the can at the back of his head, he looks like this. And then when he goes when he's actually like Clark Kent going into the Daily Planet in that suit, he looks like a giant. He almost looks like a giant, and his hair is like. It was weird. I'm like. And after I heard about the hypno glasses, I'm like, maybe they did that visually in the movie and made him look a little different.
Maybe. That could be. I didn't hear anything about that, but I mean, that's possible. But I think that was like a smart way of explaining
that,
how people can not realize that he's the same person.
Just because because at the end of the day, the whole glasses thing really doesn't hold a lot of water.
No, but it's just funny. It's always like an inside joke.
Like if you put a picture of Superman next to a picture of Clark Kent with glasses, you'd look at it and say, well, that's Clark Kent and Superman.
They look the same.
No, you'd look at it and go like, that's Superman with glasses.
Yes.
You know what? Like, that's what it should be.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Overall, I really enjoyed the film. I saw it 3 times. Is there a chance I go see it again? There's a possibility.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
There's a good possibility.
I mean, I enjoyed the movie, and I gave it like a very solid 3 stars, which a lot of people don't realize. Only 3 out of not 3.5, not 4. Like 3 stars is a good movie.
Yeah.
Like I enjoyed it. And at the end of the day, that's like I'm not expecting The Godfather. I'm not expecting 2001: A Space Odyssey.
But this was the movie to me that they just needed to get the audience back.
It's a good superhero movie.
James Gunn needed to get the audience and the fans to have faith in a new direction that this film was going to take the universe in, and I feel like he got that. I feel like he did it.
It was very successful. He
established a beginning for this new DC universe, so I'm excited to see where we go.
And to me, it still is. It's still a superhero movie, but it's got, the fact that he was pulling in, even in some cases, more characters than you would even see in a Marvel movie. Yeah. To me, it was like it was fun. It had
not a cookie cutter formula.
It had a lot of extras, And to me, it's not. Nothing will ever beat the original Superman the movie, because at the end of the day, what most people don't realize is, when Superman the movie came out in 1978, there was no such thing as comic book movies and superhero movies. That Richard Donner made a movie, and that's more like a real movie. It's almost it's like what a lot of people criticize Martin Scorsese for what he said about a lot of these movies are not real movies; they're roller coaster movies. For the most part, most comic book movies are like roller coaster type movies. Most franchise movies are like they don't fit like the old style definition of a movie, like a true drama, they're more like just, I don't want to say mindless entertainment, but they're it's just entertainment. It's color by numbers for the most of the part, and the problem is that because everybody's used to a formula. If there was a whole boatload of superhero movies in the 70s, they would all be different movies.
Of course.
They would have, you would have had 10 different directors on 10 different superhero movies making 10 completely different types of movies.
Yeah.
But today, they're like, well, we have, it's the whole joke behind, Scary Movie or like, Scream, where they say, these are the rules. What? There are rules. And the people making the movies know what the rules are, and they follow them, because that's the rule that if you do it right, it makes money.
Right. But at the end of the day, that's what it's all about for the studio. Anyways, the studio's about making money.
But this, to me, was a very different type of comic book movie, in my opinion. It was a little bit just like the way James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy was a different type of comic book movie. So I am looking forward to the next DCU movie.
Me too.
Which is Supergirl.
Yeah.
Which
next year
we've heard might be rated R.
I heard that recently. I don't know if that's true. I'm
Probably
having
because
a hard time.
Lobo is in it.
Yeah. I mean, Lobo's in it, but I'm having a hard time. I feel like it's going to be like a hard PG-13.
I hope they go with PG-13.
I can't see it being an R
and
for their second film.
And that's 2026?
Next year, yeah. Yeah. We'll probably have a trailer within the next couple of months. A teaser, anyway.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I mean, what are they? Are they going to do one movie a year?
I think they're going to try to get to 2 movies a year.
They should try to get to 2 because.
But as of right now, they're warm. I feel like this is like their warm up. Get one movie out
this
for the
might
next couple
because
years.
at the end of the day, I still think the DC people in charge still want people to prove to them that it's worth investing in. So this is probably James Gunn's, test.
Yeah.
And guess what? he passed.
Yeah, I think so too.
He absolutely passed.
I think he did a really great job.
I
for the
really
first
have
film.
very few complaints about this movie because you have to accept it in the type of reality that they're presenting the movie in.
Yep.
Like the reality of this movie is nowhere near the reality presented in like the Dark Knight trilogy, Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight movies.
Right.
You know, these are not the same places.
Nope.
They're just not, and that's okay.
Yep. No,
That's okay. I'm okay with that. It's simpler,
which I'm fine with. As long as like
and it might even be more fun.
As long as you're keeping the same rules across all the films.
Yeah. Well, you might not be keeping the same rules. That's okay. Just like like Guardians was not the same rules. Guardians bent the rules for sure. I don't know that Guardians was in the same rules as Avengers and Captain America and all that. You know, I think they bent the rules a little bit. So I'm looking forward. Like I always told Chris, I said, I am looking forward to this movie. I am looking forward to the path.
Yeah,
ahead.
What they're going to do
I'm looking
going
forward. You know, and I don't know that I'm necessarily going to see all of the animated shows or the TV shows.
No.
I don't know that I'm going to.
And you shouldn't need to see those to understand what's going on in the films.
You know, because I know what they were doing, The Authority.
Yeah, like that's
Creature
something
Commandos,
Creature Commandos, yeah.
You know,
that's all supposed to come out.
like I'm watching Sandman, but that might not have anything to do with anything.
No.
But at the very least, I'm gonna see all the movies. I'm looking forward to the movies.
Yeah, no, me too. So, I think
so
that's
you saw it 3 times. I saw it 1.5 times. I give it a very solid 3 stars. I think you probably give it a little more. I think you really liked it.
I did. No, I really liked it. I mean, I probably just slightly higher than that, I would think. I don't know. I really did enjoy it. I thought this was a really great start to this film.
That being said, I think I do want to see it again. I don't know that I'll see it in theaters, but I think I want to see it again to just knowing everything that happens, like just sitting back and enjoying it, and also making sure I find the other 2 frickin' street signs. I'm like, you know what? I can't. I like finding those things, and I'm usually the one going,
If anyone else saw any of that stuff, just please let us know.
Yeah, I'm sure there's more than there's more than one Easter egg.
Some pretty good. Well, Will Reeve was in it. Christopher Reeve's son. He played a tiny bit. He played a tiny role.
He was a reporter, right?
He was a reporter. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of cool too.
So I thought that was a really nice tribute to him. But overall, really enjoyed the film.
Yeah.
So I think I'm good.
So, Goody and Johnny Moe are back. Episode 66 in the bank. We thoroughly plan on seeing Fantastic Four next week.
This week.
And I am
hopefully
very much looking forward to a Fantastic Four review because that's
his realm.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that.
So thank you guys very much for watching. It's a nice, very long, in-depth review.
Yep.
All right, but we're back.
We're good.
All right.
Have a good one.
Take care.
If that stopped recording, I'm going to kill myself.
God, I can't believe we're still married. Not to each other. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I don't know. That was a Freudian slip somewhere. We call that a Freudian avalanche.
All right.